Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let the Bible speak. Don't speak for the Bible. Open the book and let's have a revival. It's about the truth. It's about survival. Return to the basics. Get back in the Bible.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another live. In this live, we will be reviewing a video that Dr. Garza had posted on me in regards to the predicate nominative, which basically, for those that are not aware of what that means, I'm going to keep it simple with you. If I say the boy is tall, no, that's a predicate adjective. The boy is a player. This would be a predicate nominative, where I have two nouns joined by a linking verb. The verb to be is, and the subject is the boy, and he's being predicated an identity by the predicate noun, which is a player. The boy is a player. It's telling us more about the boy's identity, or something about the boy using another noun. Actually, hold on. I need to scratch all that. I'm rushing right now. I'm rushing between two lives. I should have ended my previous live sooner. It's not a predicate nominative. He's going to try to school me on a vocative in Greek. My bad. A vocative is a direct address. Wow, I feel so silly. I can't believe I did that. But yeah, a vocative is a direct address. So we're going to play this video. He's going to make some comments. He's going to talk a lot about him, puff out his chest. But I'll respond to it after that. Let's go ahead and get him going here. Boom. Oh, hold on. He's muted, and I didn't change the scene. So let me get this right where I need it to be. Right there. Okay, get him on the screen. There he is.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Bible Answers Unfiltered and Black Belt Theology and Apologetics. I'm your host, Dr. Garza. So today I'm going to be responding to a video that a Unitarian named Jesse, who's been trying to get me to debate him for quite a while now. So he likes to say that I'm running and that I'm scared inside and all this stuff. It's a typical Unitarian tactic. That when you don't want to deal with people who don't know how to read the scriptures accurately in the languages they're written, or claims to know more than any scholar and that no scholar can correct them, yeah, you want to avoid those debates and discussions because there's no fruit in it. This person thinks literally because, and he admits he uses AI to get his information, that therefore nobody can correct him, when it's really no one can correct his AI God who prompts him the answers he wants. So
all right, so real quick, notice the personal attacks on me. First off, my God is not AI. Second, Dr. Garza does not know where I get my information from. He doesn't know how I learned what I know. He's making assumptions and throwing jabs at me right now, because this is exactly what he does. Oh, bull crap. TikTok, I'm going to close and start again because TikTok's being mean to me. Alright. I got flagged on TikTok. They said unoriginal content, so I'm going to restart that. But yeah, he doesn't know where I get my information from. Have I learned from AI? Yeah. Mainly about metaphysics, not about Greek grammar. And I actually learned that from different websites that are free online. You guys ever want to learn Greek or Hebrew for free? Hit me up. My email is a part of my homepage on YouTube. I'll send you those links. You could probably do a search and... What? Wow, TikTok's being really goofy. But I'm just going to stay focused here. If it doesn't work, I'll send my friends the link. But yeah, Dr. Garza doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's making stuff up. I want to show you guys a couple of things. So let me go to get this internet back up here. All right. I'm going to make that big. So this is the video I did recently on him. Dr. Garza, the dishonest scholar, exposed. He drops a comment. I want you guys to see this comment and my response. All right. Let me see. Okay, scroll it down. Can I see the comments when I zoom in that much? Apparently not. I would love to see the comments. Let me see. Can I do it this way? Oh, there's the comments. Says, well, Jesse, now I'll really expose you with a video that shows how ignorant you are in your debate, even with the basic Greek grammar. Here's a taste of what you'll get soon. This is why I will not debate Jesse. Then he starts talking, and I didn't read all of his message. Instead, I just replied. I said, do it, do it. Do it, do it. Come on, Dr. Garza. And then you better read my comment carefully because apparently you don't know how to read grammar books. Well, I didn't read all of that comment either. I'm actually saying, do it, do it. I want him to make this video so I could show you guys how unreliable Dr. Garza is. He likes to appeal to the final authority of scholarship. Me, I like to test the field. So, what I'm going to present to you tonight is my evidence and put forth a burden to Dr. Garza. That coming soon. Let's continue with this video. Hopefully he's done throwing jabs.
That's how he learns. And yet I'm the one running scared, and I don't want to debate him because there's no point. Anything I tell him or show him, which I'm going to do right now, based on scholarship or what people have written, it doesn't matter to him because his AI God, who he tells to give him the answers, is what is his authority.
I don't think you can tell AI to give you the answers. You can tell AI to answer neutrally, but like you could even say, I guess, from a Unitarian or a Trinitarian perspective, but AI won't give you answers that are going to hurt another religion. Like, for example, I told AI, I told him, tell me Jesus is God. Say it, say it. It wouldn't do it. Then I said, fine, say Jesus is not God. It wouldn't do it. Do Trinitarians worship three gods? It's going to answer no and answer in response to what they believe. There are certain boundaries that an AI won't cross, but what he's doing right now is to discredit me as a person, as a reliable source, because he can't deal with me. And he doesn't want to get in a debate with me. Dr. Garza does not want to get in a debate with me because he's got me coming with grammar, coming with metaphysics, coming with scripture and context. All those put together makes a very, very tough opponent. And Dr. Garza has not built his house on the words of Jesus Christ. He chose to build his house on sand, and he thinks his certificate is going to save him. So let's see if it saves him.
So Jesse wants to do that, and that's how he debates, and that's how he gets his information. But in this video he made, in
the previous live I just did, at the end, I scrapped all my questions and I kicked butt.
I switched it around here. I put on here, I'll expose you again, Jesse. But he did make a video, and let me see here. I want to share the screen because he made a video saying I'm a dishonest scholar. So this is kind of where I am a little bit I think it's funny. And in all honesty, to me, it's just funny. So what he did, and I'll let me see here.
He's upset because previously I exposed him. He tried to, and let me recap on that real quick for you guys to show you how easy it was to show that Dr. Algarza is a dishonest scholar. So he said I lost a debate because I appealed to 2 Samuel chapter 7. And he said, if you would have read into verse 23, it says, and what one nation in the earth is like your people, even like Israel, whom God went to redeem for a people to himself. This word went, this word is plural. It's plural. Means multiple persons. God made up of multiple persons. Jesse loses. What I do, I went to the Septuagint, which was translated before Jesus was even born. These people know how to read Hebrew more fluently than Dr. Algarza. Dr. Algarza likes to say that rabbis invented plural of majesty, but they did not. How do I know? Because this here would be an example of either A, plural of majesty, or B, the Elohim represents the angels, and I learned something new since I last talked to you. If you go to the Septuagint, there's the people, Israel, ethnos, but in the earth, which this word right here, what's this word mean? I think it means to lead. Yeah, to lead, be the guide, show the way. This word right here is singular. But what about God? Is God singular? Let's have a look. God is singular also. That's how easy it was to show Dr. Algarza was dishonest. Now, what I recently learned was in 1 Chronicles, the mere story of 2 Samuel 7, you scroll down to the same corresponding passage. I'm looking for it. I don't remember the exact verse off the top of my head, which would be verse 21. And what nation in the earth is there like your people, Israel, whom God went, and guess what? It's singular. Come on, Dr. Garza, what's going on? But now, hold on, do we have a contradiction in the Bible? I'm actually going to have to do a separate live. I don't want to get hung up on this. No, we don't. 2 Samuel is talking about the angels that was God's agent during the Exodus story, and Chronicles is giving God all the credit. That's the difference. Same story. And the New Testament validates that the law was ordained through angels. There was an angel on Mount Sinai, in the bush, so on and so on. But now, let's go ahead and pop back to the video. That's how easy it was to expose him. And watch what I do to his scholarship tonight.
He puts on here that a dishonest scholar. Okay, I'll make it bigger for you. And so he calls me I'm dishonest because I basically call him out on a passage that he read, trying to prove the singular person of God, but ignoring the second passage that actually uses Elohim as a plural, with the plural verb.
No, I call him a dishonest scholar because he knows plural majesty exists, but he chooses not to acknowledge it and falsely accuses people of making up. And then I supplied the same evidence I just showed you. Septuagint clearly shows everything singular, which means the Hebrews that wrote the Septuagint knew that it was a plural majesty.
The ones who redeemed the people of Israel. And he says I'm dishonest because I pointed that out. And he wants to hold on to this plural of majesty concept that didn't even exist in ancient biblical times. And I don't know why he doesn't.
The Septuagint is said to be written during the Maccabee period, roughly 200 BC. About 200 years before Jesus. So they had no reason to deny Jesus to make up this plural of majesty. So, again, he got showed up. You're a liar.
Look that up on AI or just go to Wikipedia that he could do on his own and find out that plural majesty is an invention in the 13th, 14th century in Europe. It's not that hard.
No, I just proved it. I proved it in my video and I proved it a second ago. It's not invented in the 13th century. It was invented, or it was being used about 1500 years before that. Actually, longer than that, because Samuel was written way back in the day, but translated into Greek about 1500 years ago.
Hard.
Or, yeah.
Or grammarians in the 18th, 19th century started to develop other ways to explain it. But scholarship is consensus on that pre-Israelite history. Elohim was understood as a plural in the surrounding nations and even in the biblical times. And scholars don't know when it actually became singular. There's no consensus on that. So, and we'll discuss that in a minute because this is something just.
We know when it became singular. According to the Septuagint, they already knew it was singular because it was translated long before the rabbis became rabbis. Long before rabbinical Judaism. So stop lying. You're being racist.
He doesn't know.
You want to say something, Watchman?
No. I'm listening. Karen. Oh, sorry. I didn't even know I was off mute. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're cool. You were unmuted. I just want to make sure you had a chance to speak if you wanted to.
Thinks that I'm being dishonest. So he says the dishonest scholar. Now, here's the interesting part about this. And this is where I deal with this. Jesse likes to poke fun or criticize my scholarship. And then he makes these general blanket statements. No scholar respects Dr. Al Garza. No one.
That's a false statement. Now, let me show you this. What did I actually say? So let me make this small again. Hold on. Oh, wait, I'm hitting the wrong button. I gotta make this small again. Go to the live chat. We'll go right there real quick. Now that I got the live chat on the screen. No, I need to go to transcript. I got the wrong thing up. The transcript of the actual video that I held. And then I'm going to search the word credit. Oh, bull. All right. It's used 3 times in my transcript. The first time I said, the reason I'm doing, actually, let me speak. You guys can hear it clearly. Oh, I'm muted. Oh, crap. You're a butt. The reason I'm doing this video right now is I want to show you guys that not every scholar with a PhD is creditable. That's the first time I used the word credible. I made sure that when I said creditable, when I talked about no scholar respects him, I knew other Trinitarians would stick with him. So I said creditable. So moving to my second example. What did I actually say? No creditable scholar takes him seriously. I actually said it another time, I believe. Oh, hold on. Yet a bunch. He loves harassing me and other little guys because he ain't got nobody to deal with. No creditable scholar will give him a time a day. As a matter of fact, there's a review that I put on. All right, so now you guys heard that I literally said a creditable scholar. Let's hear what else he has to say.
Respects him. And so many Unitarians have parroted this same comment. Yet, I recently had Dr. Michael Brown on my show to discuss the Trinity. A friend of mine.
Now, remember, I said a creditable scholar. A Trinitarian scholar is not a creditable scholar on whether or not God is one person or multiple persons. Dr. Brown is not a creditable scholar because he's not teaching the truth. If he teaches truth, I might respect him. And the fact that he walks around saying that he's a Jew who is supposed to be a true monotheist and believe that God is one person according to the Torah, I'd say he isn't a Jew. And if he is by bloodline a Jew, he is a disgrace to his people. I said it bluntly. He's not creditable. Birds of a feather flock together.
Mine, a well-respected Semitic scholar around the world. And people have reached out to him, and he has great respect for me, for my work, what I've done. We've collaborated on things. I've reached out to him many times, email, phone, and all that. So when Jesse says no scholar respects Dr. Garza, of course, that's the really dishonest lies that they have to portray.
I said creditable scholar. Dr. Brown is not a creditable scholar, only in his eyes, because, like I said, birds of a feather. What about Dustin Smith? Is he a creditable scholar? Does Dr. Algarza think Dustin Smith is a creditable scholar? Probably not, right? Probably for the same reasons I don't think Dr. Brown is a creditable scholar. The difference is TikTok is so annoying. Whatever. The difference is Dr. Dustin Smith is actually honest. These guys are not
In general,
trying to hide plural majesty. It didn't exist. Wow. The Septuagint sure don't reveal it, does it? Where's the plural majesty, or where's the plural worlds in the Septuagint?
is that every single scholar in the world has no respect for me. When it's only actually probably a couple of Unitarian scholars that they run to for help, that they probably parrot. You know, when I did my second master's at Colorado Christian University a few years ago, the scholars there, they're all PhD published, and I have some of their books on my shelf. Oh, we had a field day talking about things. In fact, they asked you some of my work that I submitted for their classes, but yet they have no respect for me because according to Jesse, no scholar has respect for me. So I have Dr. Michael Brown, who endorsed one of my books that I have on my shelf. He's been on my show discussing the Trinity. I've had other scholars that I've been in contact with. We collaborate on things. Again, we talk about things. My work has been used in some classroom stuff. But again, no scholar respects me. When you hear that, just walk away from any.
You're only talking to your audience, Dr. Algarza. Why don't you properly cite me and stop being a dishonest scholar, as I said you were, and proved you were?
Anybody, it doesn't have to be Unitarian, because when they start to have to make these sweeping general statements that are nobody can confirm, that means they're desperate. They're really trying to win their position by lying about things, by saying these general sweeping statements. So when you hear that and I've heard this from few Unitarians who try to say that there's no scholar that respects me, and all I need is just one to have respect for me to show that was a lie. And these people,
don't forget, creditable scholar. Dr. Brown is not a creditable scholar. He doesn't believe the Bible.
Have to make those comments because they have nothing else to stand on. And all I had to bring up was, again, Dr. Michael Brown. I pulled out the top dog on that one because he's
top dog. Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. Algarza, I'm going to go visit your top dog, and maybe I'll do a review on some of his content. Wait, I got the whole weekend off. I might do that tomorrow. We'll see how creditable Dr. Brown is.
The most well-respected Semitic scholar around, written a number of books. But again, that's what happens. And then again, I get criticized because I work as an independent scholar. And let me explain this, because this needs to be understood.
I never criticized him for being an independent scholar. I myself am an independent scholar. The difference between me and Dr. Algarza is I'm uncertified. I'm not a certified scholar, but I am definitely a biblical scholar, whether he likes it or not. I'm independent. I am pointing out that he's a dishonest scholar. That's a fact. I already showed it.
Understood. What is an independent scholar, and what do I do that's different than a scholar who either works for a university or a college and so forth? And I taught at my local colleges, at a different college. I taught full time years ago. I prefer not to do that anymore for a lot of reasons. Independent scholars will work on their own material, their own time. They do the work independently on their own that they want to do, like myself, because there's no money in working at universities and colleges.
There's no money in it? Thank you for telling us the reason for your ambition.
The pay isn't there. I make probably 5 to 10 times more than I would make in a university or any college or doing anything in that field of scholarship. The money's not there. I have a family. I have things I have to do. I own a company, businesses that run that support what I need to do. And it gives me the freedom to do independently work, ministry online, write my own material, and of course, get them submitted and looked at by other friends of mine.
You walking his puff out that chest. Good job, bro. Listen, as a matter of fact, let me show you something else I said about Dr. Al Garza. Dr. Al Garza, you don't have to puff yourself up, buddy. Look, I said this about you. Let me go back to, let me reduce my to credit. Let me scroll down here a little bit. I said, what did I say about you, Dr. Al Garza? Oh, no. Can I read it? I probably sound like a first grader, but I can. Do I speak it? No. But I give Dr. Al Garza full credit. I recognize his certification. Keep bashing on me because I'm going to show you why this guy that doesn't know Hebrew is about to show you up because you misrepresent the truth. So I definitely recognize Dr. Al Garza's achievements. He doesn't have to prove anything to me, you know? I'm not saying that he isn't a scholar. I'm only saying he's not an honest one.
And who are scholars to review and give me suggestions. And I've even Dr. Michael Brown, when I submitted one of my papers to him, he gave me some great suggestions, and I made those corrections that he offered to me. So, and even people from the university that I'm still in contact with. So, you know, I independent simply means that I work on my own time, my own material, and I'm not beholden to a university of what they tell me I need to write or what I can and cannot say and do. So I'm not at their beck and call because they pay my salary. I don't need the money from them. Okay, they don't pay enough. And again, I would not be able to support my family working at a college or university. Now some have to and some do because that's all they have. I don't. I was blessed by God to have my own businesses, my own companies, my own trade school where I don't have to go work at a university, which like I said, I did in the past, and struggling financially.
Blessed by what God? Certainly not the Trinity God. It doesn't exist, bro.
Is not where I want to be. I like being independent. So an independent scholar, which means I can't afford to go do what other people do, work at universities or college or have to depend on writing to get paid from certain places or books and all that and get paid the bare minimum. Nope. God has blessed me to where I can financially support myself, my family, my means, everything is met, and I can have my.
Which God? The God of lies? Because, I mean, you're obviously making a lot of money off of selling lies.
My ministry and take the time to do this when I get the time. So that's the difference, is that I don't have to answer to a specific college that pays me and says I cannot do what I want to do. I like doing it, but that doesn't mean that I'm dishonest or lying. Let me give you an example here.
I never attacked any of that. I actually attacked your argument, bro. The fact that you are independent, I am independent. The fact that you are blessed, okay, yeah, I gave some sarcasm a moment ago, but I do believe all things, God's in control of all things, and God's goodness leads to repentance. The fact that you are blessed and hard worked in your area, got to where you're at through hard work, I give you full props. I don't have a problem with that. I certainly ain't jealous of that, but what I have a problem with is you have certification that I definitely recognize. You're not using it honestly, though, to represent the living God. That's what I have a problem with. And you're causing souls to be lost as a result of it. That's what I have a problem with. What I'm actually attacking is your arguments, not necessarily you. When I throw small jabs at you, like you're running from me, you're scared to debate me, you're right. That's provocation. To try to touch on that little ego of yours, because I know you got a big ego. This is a 28-minute video. Watch me. He's going to tell me, like, within 2 minutes, he's going to make his case, and the whole 26 minutes is all about him. Yeah, I'm touching your ego, and I'm refuting your arguments because I want to see you actually step into the ring with somebody that is not certified but is studied and independent like yourself, and watch you not be able to prevail against the truth. And you're going around in little guy comments. And when I say little guys, I'm talking about you're not messing with anyone that's got a big name. My buddy Will Walkie, Power Tool Apologetics, he's got a small channel compared to a lot of people, but you love to harass him. You love to harass him. Why? Why ain't you out there actually doing anything real with your certifications? Because if you step against someone that has a bigger name, they probably have a bigger name because they're more studied and they're certified. And they'll call you. I don't have citations of scholars off the top of my head. My Bible is my source. But yeah, that's my issue. That's my issue. Let's get back to it.
Great books that have come out that I have recommended to people. People think that when I write or say things that it's just from myself, that, I make stuff up somehow. When in fact, I have books like Israel's Lord that just came out recently. Great book. This is by David E. Wilhite and Adam Wynn. This deals with that Yahweh has two powers in Second Temple literature. Great book, talks about the word and the messenger and other things, and goes.
Okay, good job. You're teaching polytheism and trying to sell books. When are you actually going to get to the point of exposing me again?
To Jewish sources. This book came out. I think it's put in here 2024. The things they have written here, I've been saying for years. I've written on years ago. So this is stuff I haven't made up. Other scholars have written on things that I've said and I've talked about many times over. So it's not like I'm making stuff up. Like I'm a dishonest scholar. No scholar says what he says. Books have been written. That's what I use. The materials I use. Here's another one called The Trinity. Published.
Okay, so you're just repeating someone else's lies and misunderstandings. That's cool. But if you actually know that you're lying and you still lie, that's what I have a problem with. You're using your certification to try to give you credibility only so you can lie to people. It's not cool. And I proved you a liar. I'm not just calling you a liar. Your 2 Samuel 7:23 in the Septuagint is singular, not plural.
Which by Oxford. Look, Oxford University Press, The Trinity. This is all about the Trinity. Great book to read. Again, it has a number of scholars who've written. It's not written by one person, but it's actually written by a number of people in here. So we have Craig Evans. They have articles from Alan Siegel, Sarah Coakley, Michael Rain Barnes. We have Stephen Davis, David Tracy, David Brown, a bunch of people writing on the Trinity on different subjects on this from Oxford. Great book to read. Again, published by a major company. Jesus as God, another great book by Murray Harris. Again, great book to read about the New Testament and Theos and how it's used of Jesus. Again, books that have been written that I've used, great material, things I've already written about. This is not like just coming from me. These people, like these Unitarians, I'm the only, and I am an independent biblical scholar who is out here on social media debating and challenging and doing these things because it's something that I feel the Lord wants me to do. I've been doing.
I wonder if I could accept that challenge. Is he the only independent biblical scholar on social media interacting with people?
This a long time. I don't hide in the closet and just write and don't engage with people. I will engage with anybody, even people like Jesse, who has a GED, who was in prison, who says he's smarter than every scholar and that no scholar can correct.
I never said I'd stop lying. Show me the clip. Show me the clip. I'll bet you can't do it. I never said I was smarter. Now, as a matter of fact, in my previous video, let me see if I can find what I actually said. Think about it. I'm probably going to have to look up the word scholar. I'm using a search. I said it 10 times. So, what all did I say? Okay. We'll go back up one. How about refute? Look at the word refute. Maybe I didn't say it in this video. I thought I did. No, I thought I said it in this video though. I literally told people the reason I said scholars can't refute me is because if you're for me, you agree with me and I agree with you. So how can we refute each other? But if you're against me, I use your rules against you. Like Daniel B. Wallace wrote Greek grammar beyond the basics. He made principles. Those principles hurt him. And in some of the passages that he adds commentary, the reason he's adding commentary is because his principles hurt him and he's trying to do patchwork. So, like, if we keep his principle about John 1:1c, that a qualitative sense is expressing the nature of God, apply that to, John 1:1c, apply that Psalm 82:6 when those Elohim who are sons of God are in the predicative sense. How many gods do you believe in? One God? Only one God, correct? Okay, I do too. That means there's only one nature of God, correct? Correct. Okay, so those sons of God in Psalm 82:6 only have one nature of God that can be conveyed to them. So how many gods, how many persons is truly in the Trinitarian Godhead? How many gods are there really that have the same nature? Or how many persons have the same nature? Because sons is plural. Jesus is not the only son. I use Daniel B. Wallace's rules against them. I'll do that with any scholar. And that's why they can't refute me, because in order to contradict me, they got to take back their own principles. Get it down, Dr. Garza. Step up your game.
I'll engage with them because he's a soul that needs to be won for the true Messiah and the true God of Israel, not the false Messiah that he claims to know through AI. So, I'll engage with anybody. They don't have to be famous, or they don't, because they're still someone that the Messiah died for. And that's how I look at it. I know there are people out there who won't engage. There are other scholars who won't engage with people who don't really have a social media following. That doesn't affect me. I don't hold myself up like I'm not going to talk to you because you're beneath me. Even though Unitarians claim I have an ego and I have this big, I wouldn't be engaging with you if I had an ego and I thought I was.
Bull crap. Every bully tries to pick on someone because they got an ego. You're a bully. We already talked about it. You're a cyber bully. That's why you engage with these people.
I would just sweep you under the rug and say you're beneath me. The fact that I engage with these people and I talk to them, and yeah, they can get sarcastic and I'll get sarcastic.
Bull crap, bro. Listen, you call people ignorant like right off the back and wave your certificate in their face and try to wipe their snotty nose with it. You're a bully. That's why you engage with these people. And that's why no creditable, keyword creditable, scholar takes you serious.
Right back. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, I grew up in LA. I have a very upbringing from the streets, so I'm not someone who just backs down, but I will engage. I bring up the truth, and I did that earlier. In this video here, he attacks me, of course, with my scholarship. Oh, he may have, again, with the may have nonsense. Again, these people, that's all they have. No scholar respects me. No, he may have. That's when they've lost the argument, and then they start talking nonsense. So in this video here, he does that. So, but I want to bring something up because this needs to be said, and then I will bring this into where it needs to be. Let me share this other screen here. Okay. This needs to be put out there. So this was part of the debate that he did with Keith. Keith was a Trinitarian. And Jesse was, Keith was trying to get him to answer a question during cross-examination.
All right, so here it comes. Finally, let's see how honest Dr. Algarza is.
And this is where I'm saying where I don't like to debate people like Jesse when they don't know really the language, or they shun the language, saying no scholar can correct me, and that's all they have is AI. And this is the reason why I won't debate him, because he's very dishonest about what the grammar books say, and he makes stuff up. And this is going to prove, because I'm going to show you my comment that I left quoting the grammar books, including a Greek grammar of New Testament early Christian literature by Blast, by a very well recognized grammar book, by the way. Again, so Blast, Brunner, and Funk here wrote this book, and also I have Daniel Wallace's Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics, which you can find online. And I had to post this because Jesse literally was dishonest about this. I want you to listen to the question. Now, Keith is not a scholar, and he doesn't know how to engage in this area because it's out of his expertise as far as, the languages. But here's what you need to know when it comes to this situation. Listen carefully.
Why does the Thomas say, "My Lord and my God" in John 20:28?
He doesn't. There's no vocative case for a direct address, as there is in the next verse for Thomas, and verse 16 for Mary and Rabboni. Pause. I just gave two direct addresses in the same context, both having a vocative case. That is significant. You're going to tell me that he just forgot to put one in John 20:28? But that's not even my argument.
So he doesn't. So when Jesus appears to Thomas and he puts his fingers in his side and his hands and he says, "My Lord and my God," what is Jesus' response to Thomas in that situation?
Thomas, because you have seen, you have believed. Blessed are those who have seen, have not seen, yet believe.
And why was Jesus showing himself to Thomas?
Because Thomas wouldn't believe that he resurrected.
Because he didn't believe he's God.
No, the scripture, the context says he didn't believe he resurrected.
So when he saw that Jesus was resurrected and he stuck his fingers in his holes, and then he believed and he called him "my Lord and my God," Jesus accepted this, correct?
No, he didn't accept a direct address. There's no vocative case in the Greek for a direct address.
All right, let's stop right there. He's hung up. Jesse is trying to affirm that there's no vocative case there. And this is where I don't want to, I would have to literally waste minutes in a debate to try explain to him the vocative form in a nominative, which is in every grammar book. And
Dr. Algarza, you don't have to explain that to me. If you actually gave me credit, I already know what a nominative, a vocative, an accusative, a dative, a genitive is. I don't know all the breakdowns of the dative and the genitive because there's a lot of different ways you could translate them. I'll learn, but you don't have to tell me the basic principles. I already know. So come debate me.
And this is why I don't want to waste time, because I'd waste more time trying to explain to him how grammar works from the language than actually arguing from my position, because this is what you get. So I left a comment here at the bottom, and hopefully you can see this. Let me try to blow it up here a little more and get myself off the screen. And you could actually go there and look at it yourself. But I was speaking to Keith here, and I said, "Hey Keith, good job. This is why I will not debate Jesse." At 42:55, you asked him about John 20:28, and Jesse claimed that is not a vocative, so he would not answer. Well, according to every serious grammar textbook like Brass, DeBurn, and Funk, BDF, a Greek grammar of the New Testament and other early Christian literature, see section 147, titled "Nominative" instead of a vocative, and Daniel Wallace's Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics and Exegetical Syntax of the New Testament, pages 56 through 59, deal with nominative for vocative, nominative of address, or discussed as a nominative for form performing a vocative function. This is not a special pleading invented by John 20:28 or Hebrews 1:8, according to BDF. The nominative had a tendency to usurp the place of the vocative. BDF, one of the most standard Greek grammars, has has an entire section called nominative instead of vocative on C section 147. In simple terms, this means that the Greek word can look like a nominative in form, but still function as a vocative that is directly addressing someone. And they give a number of examples of this in there in the New Testament. It's common in Koine Greek of that type of address where they're speaking to someone in the nominative, but it's in the form of vocative. Again, this is important for passages like Hebrews 1:8. The Greek says hatheos, God, rather than the normal vocative form the, oh God, but BDF specifically lists Hebrews 1:8 as an example of the nominative being used in place of the vocative. So your throne, oh God, is forever. Never is perfectly valid in Greek. The same thing happens in John 20:28. Thomas directly says to Jesus, hakurios mu kai hatheos mu, my Lord and my God. Both Lord and God are nominative in form, but they are being used as direct address. BDF actually includes John 20:28 in the same discussion, in that same section dealing with that. So the argument in Hebrews 1:8 can't call Jesus, oh God, because theos is nominative instead of vocative simply doesn't work. Greek grammar allows a nominative form to function as a vocative, and BDF specifically cites both Hebrews 1:8 and John 20:28 as examples of this kind of usage. This is why learning in New Testament Greek and its grammar is important. Jesse does not understand either one. So this is why Jesse doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not a vocative. It's not a vocative. It is. It's in the form of a nominative. And the grammar books confirm this, and they give many examples of this being used. So again, this is why, very important, I don't want to deal with people like Jesse because they don't understand this. They don't.
All right, so let's see how much I actually understand. So let's get the picture back up here. This is what I actually told Keith. What did I tell Keith? Your interpretation is not a grammatical necessity. That's my point. You should move on. It's not a grammatical necessity, Dr. Algarza. Why is it not a grammatical necessity, Dr. Algarza? Well, the answer is, can a direct address be nominative or vocative? According to you scholars, yes. I never say they couldn't. You misrepresent me. Do all nominatives mean direct address? No. So his interpretation is not a grammatical necessity because it's not a vocative case. If you appeal to a nominative vocative, the burden is on you to prove that it's a direct address. If it was a vocative case, your burden would be much lighter, which is why it is not a grammatical necessity that John 20:28 says, my Lord and my God is a direct address. Now, before I give you something, Dr. Algarza, something really tough to chew on, I hope you got good, strong teeth. Let's pretend like Thomas addressed Jesus. Why is the conjunction there, Dr. Algarza? Why is the conjunction there, Dr. Algarza? Why did he say, my Lord, my God? Why is it my Lord and my God? That's not proper way of addressing someone. But let me give you the tough meat now, Dr. Algarza. Get ready for this. Now, for everybody watching this live, I will make this link public in my description. Fair use. You have all rights and privileges to use this document. I went through John, starting way back when I had my debate with Easy. Watchman, are you still with me? He might have gone to sleep. It was like 2 a.m. where he was. It's okay. I'll cut this and I'll send it to him. Or I'll make a new video and I'll post it. All right. Way back when I had a debate with Easy, is Jesus God and John's writings? I went through John reading, and every single, Dr. Garza, every single direct address I recorded. I didn't just record them, I categorized them. What you're looking at right here are all the instances of direct address that they have a vocative case. What you're looking at here is all the instances of direct address that they don't have the vocative case, because there's no vocative case in Hebrew. What you're looking at right here is information on Erasmus copying the woman caught in adultery story straight from the Latin Vulgate and translated it just as it was written into Greek. And since Latin doesn't have a vocative case, he did not put a vocative case for John 1:10. However, let me see if I can't make this bigger for you. All right, that's roughly readable, not so much on TikTok, I'm sorry. I never use the Edge, I always use Chrome, but you guys gotta bear with me, I'm sorry. If you go to John 8:10 and you look at the critical text, you're going to find that the woman here is in the vocative case. So the textual manuscripts that they have, Greek has this word in vocative. The only reason the Textus Receptus does not is because Erasmus copied just as it was written in the Latin Vulgate, which does not have a vocative case. So that explains why the KJV doesn't have vocative case. But what about John 13:13? Jesus says, "You call me Master and Lord." Let me make this a little bit bigger. You call me Master and Lord, and you say, "Well, for so I am." Daniel B. Wallace, I'm not pulling up Greek grammar beyond the basics, but I will if it's a necessity, actually understands this as being two titles. This is not a direct address. Furthermore, if you actually go to the verse, and the word that translated as master, was it didaskalos or skalos? Sorry. This word is never called Jesus in the nominative in John's Gospel. It's always in the vocative case. And kurios is also always in the vocative case when it's a direct address for Jesus. These are two titles. Jesus is stating that they call him two definite titles. These are not vocative cases. Now, furthermore, Daniel B. Wallace also says some verses such as to call in the passive form, no, that's actually related to something different. Scratch that. But what's even more interesting is you got two titles here in the nominative with the conjunction, just like in John 20:28. The difference is here the referent is clear of who is being called these titles. John 20:28 isn't. So the earliest Christian writers, you can also find this in the document that I'll post in the description, that did not use John 20:28 to prove Jesus is God. You guys can read this on your own time. Here's my burden, Dr. Al Garza. Every single direct address in John's Gospel has a vocative case, with exception, depending on the manuscript, of the woman caught in adultery and the Hebrew words which don't have a vocative case. The burden I place on you, Dr. Al Garza, is show me one time in John's Gospel, other than John 20:28. I don't want your presupposition. That's the verse in question. Because what I just presented to you is John's preferential literary style, simple terms, his writer's voice, his writer's preference. He uses a vocative case every single time someone's direct address. Now, what's even more interesting is several of these rabbi passages also has in the same verse, which means master or something like along those lines, and that Greek's in the vocative case, telling us that these Hebrew words, if they were Greek, would be vocative. Your burden, Dr. Garza, is to show me a nominative in John's gospel that is a vocative case aside from the verse in question. Because I find it highly unlikely that out of all these direct addresses, how many do I have here? I have 57 Greek words that are a direct address in John's gospel, and every single one. And you want me to believe that he just what? Chose to alter his writing style in John 20:28? Or did he just simply forget? And this is why appealing to scholars for principle does not save you. Now, here's the other question. What about Hebrews 1:8? That's my evidence for John, but how am I going to deal with Hebrews 1:8? First off, there's no he saith, but I'll just throw that point to the side real quick. So nobody's talking here. There's something toward the Son, but we'll throw that aside. How do I know that this is not a direct address? Let's go back to Psalm 45, unless you're going to special plead. Is that a citation or not? Okay, let's go back to Psalm 45. That's from verse 6, right? According to this psalm, how can I confirm that this God is not a direct address? Can you teach God? Because in verse 4 it says, and in the majesty, your majesty, ride prosperously because of the truth and meekness and righteousness, and your right hand shall teach you terrible things. Let's have a look at that word, teach. What does this word actually mean? It means to flow as water, that is to rain, transitively, to lay or throw, especially an arrow, shoot, figuratively to point out, as if by aiming the finger, to teach. Translated as teach 42 times in the KJV Bible, the majority of the times. In Isaiah chapter 40, God is asking several rhetorical questions. So, in verse 13 it says, who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor has taught him? Is it reasonable for us to believe that you can teach God when God's asking rhetorically, challenging the idolaters of that day that Isaiah is speaking to? How can you teach an all-knowing God? So my answer to you, my simple refute to Hebrews 1:8 is go back to the context of Psalm 45, verse 4, see that the right hand will teach you something. Now, anthropomorphical language. Thank you, Jared, for this. What is it the anthropomorphical language of? Your right hand will teach you terrible things. You love Psalm 110, don't you, Dr. Garza? The Lord, the Adonai at your right hand. Who is that? That's God, right? At the right hand of Messiah? In that verse. Don't be trying to confuse it. Stop straw manning, you master Trinitarian, you. Obviously, God's going to teach this king terrible things, correct? That's an inference. I'll leave it lay there. But the big point is, can you teach God? And if you cannot teach God, if you cannot instruct God, if you cannot guide God, it's very clear that Psalm 45 verse 6 would not be addressing this king as God. Case closed, Dr. Garza. You want to say anything further? I'll put this document in the description, and honestly, I'll make a more organized and subtle teaching video that explains every vocative case and every direct address and John that was in Greek is an evocative case, and those that are not are in Hebrew, which doesn't have a vocative case. And many of them translate the interpretation into Greek using a vocative case. John's literary style is that if it's a direct address, it will be vocative. Your scholars can't save you. Let's say John knows about the nominative. His preference is the vocative. And appealing to a nominative doesn't save you. You still have the burden of showing that that nominative is a vocative. Because we all know that a nominative is not only a vocative. You have a lot of burden. Which is why I said it is not a grammatical necessity, your interpretation that Jesus Christ was called God. You can't assert it. Good luck proving it. Let's get back to the video. He's going to puff his chest out some more for the rest of this video. But I'll give him the benefit of listening to the whole video and adding little remarks.
They would rather make up stuff like he just did there. It's not about, and say it with such authority where he doesn't know what he's talking about. And any Greek grammar book that I have, well,
I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about, Dr. Garza. You can't force your interpretation. You're appealing to ambiguity, Dr. Garza. That's why you won't debate me. You won't debate me. And honestly, since you want to pick on me and my brethren, I am going to be a thorn in your side. Not in a harassing way, but in a reproductive, no, not reproductive, but a productive education way. Dr. Garza, I'm going to make you my student. I'm going to educate you. But let me tell you something. I do believe you can teach me. We can all teach each other, Dr. Garza, but you're going to be my little best student. Top gun, head of the class. Preferably a class clown.
any of them, when it comes to that form in Koine Greek, perfectly valid. It is in the nominative, but it's also in the form of a vocative addressing somebody. It's why it says said to him, referring to Jesus, or it talks about says to her, the little girl. These are nominative forms, but they're looked at. They're nominative in the form of a vocative in the sense that that's how they're understood. So this is why, Jesse, you can't debate people, because I would have to spend literally most of my time trying to explain the grammar and not deal with the substance.
No, Dr. Garza. As a matter of fact, I think it would be foolish of you to ask cross-exam questions based on grammar if your opponent is not up to your level, which is why in my debates, I don't normally ask people grammatical questions for the reason you just said. I would end up wasting my time teaching them the grammar only to deny the grammar. That would be foolish of you, which is why we go with the context of the Bible, Dr. Garza. What's up with that? You can't go to the Bible? Something fishy in here.
Of an argument, and that's a waste of time, because they don't know the grammar, they don't know the language, and so even with their AI models, they don't give them everything because they don't know how to check it and make sure it's valid. So he might have checked that on AI and found out, but the AI didn't give him the true answer either. So this is
Dr. Garza, I've known this for a long, long time. But I can't prove that, nor can you prove the AI taught me that, so why don't you let that go? Where'd you get your certificate? Out of a Cracker Jack box? I can throw a little jab at you. But I recognize, honestly, it does me more benefit to recognize that you're a certified liar. It helps me. Because someone as open as you are, that openly lies and gets caught, helps me show people that Trinitarian scholars are not creditable sources. So let's get in the Bible.
is the problem. When we're dealing with these people like this, and this is hard because, Jesse wants to, let me put this back up here. Jesse wants to pretend like he has God authority when it's really AI.
I do have God authority. John 1:12. And that pronoun, Dr. Garza, goes back to the word, laying your theological bias to the side. You know that's true. And we'll just call it the word. And the word, hold on, no. As many as received the word, and I've received the word, is given authority, exousia, right to act. Authority to become a child of God. To those that believe in the word's name or authority. I believe in the word's authority. I believe in the Father's word. I have received the Father's word. You have not received the Father's word. Jesus says that the Father is the only true God and his God is my God and your God. Why aren't you living like Jesus? Why aren't you believing Jesus? He who is of God hears God's word, but you hear him not because you're not of God. You are of your father, the devil. And the works of your father you will do. The lust of your father you will do. He was a liar from the beginning and did not abide in the truth. Because when he speaks a lie, he speaks of himself. He's a liar and the father of it. But what is that truth? As Pilate said. Sanctify them in your truth. Your word is truth, Dr. Algarza. God's word is truth. I have received God's word. I have received Messiah's word. I do have authority. Authority that you can't contend with, because Jesus says those that build a house on hears his word and does it, he likens them to the man that dug deep and found a rock and built his house on that rock. And when the winds and the waters came, that house was not moved. But Dr. Algarza, while you went to school and you heard what someone else told you to do instead of going to Jesus Christ, you built your house on sand. I strongly recommend you relocate. I strongly recommend you dig deep in that Bible. You lay aside your theological opinions. You dig deep, you find that rock, and you build on it. Because when Jesus told me, when I read John 17:3, that the Father is the only true God, I believed him. But I didn't right away go out preaching Jesus is not God. I studied. And I knew I couldn't trust. I couldn't fully trust anyone. I learned from different people, but I didn't jump on board with every doctrine. You might find, and I'm not talking smack on Dustin Smith. He would, in order to deal with this verse, admit that Jesus is called God and put the burden on you to prove it's in the same sense as the Father. And appeal to Psalm 45:6 and say that king is called God. Psalm 82:6, others are called God. Moses was made a God. The judges are God, and put that burden on you. He might do that. I will not do that. The Father says there's no God except him, and I believe the Father. I put the Father's word first. Those that are called God are him by representation, and Exodus 4:12-16 explains that. That's where I'm at. But can I learn from Dustin Smith? Absolutely. Can I learn from Trinitarians? Yep. But will I jump on board on every doctrine? Absolutely not. Now, Dr. Garza, I suggest you stop picking on the little guys. Because I have a spirit of David in me. What I mean by that is I see a bear coming. And I will fight that bear to the death to save the sheep. When you pick on my brothers and sisters, you got to deal with me. And you don't want to do that. And you know it. Because that ego of yours will take a hurting. And you know it. Just like my previous debate. Come in there all confident. I still got clips coming from that debate. I have a full-time job. I work hard. I come home, I study, I present. I got clips coming. Don't think that Keith, Creality, Jesus Saves represented the Trinity well. Anthony, you proved to be disingenuous. Your gaslighting opinion doesn't mean nothing for me. So, let's get back to the video. Give this guy an opportunity to puff out his chest a little bit more.
It doesn't matter to me whether he knows how to speak, coherently or whatever. The fact is, he's spreading misinformation. He ignores what scholars actually say because scholars. He's literally said this on one of his videos. Scholars cannot correct him. They can't correct him.
That's not what I said, bro. Said they can't refute me. And I'll find the video and tell you why. Or I got it in this video. You want me to clip it for you? The reason a scholar can't refute me is because they agree with me. How can they refute me without refuting themselves? And if they disagree with me, I use their principles against them. I'll read your metaphysics into the Bible and make you look like a silly goat. Like I did the last guy who prays to an essence and not to the Father, Son, Holy Spirit as persons. Or does at the same time. He can't get his short story straight, nor will you.
He's above scholarship. Why? Because of AI. AI got, which again shows you that AI can't even give him the right answers. So this is why I refuse to debate him, because he wants to claim I'm so scared inside. Yeah, I've been debating longer than probably he's been alive. Right? Probably he's in diapers, depending when he was born, because I've been doing this since the 80s, dealing with oneness and Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, debating at their place of location. Before YouTube, before social media, I had to go and do all my research in a library, books, all that, and then I drive to their places and sit down and have debates and discussions with them. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm not afraid to debate anybody. I just want to waste my time trying to.
You're not afraid to debate me? Debate me. You ain't wasting no time, man. Don't you want to shame me and shut me up? I mean, it might work. You might shut me up if you shame me enough. Make me look like an idiot. Step onto a stage in a moderated, or how about this? Dr. Garza, I'll do this for you. Right now, you see sarcasm and clowning around, poking, antagonizing. That's true. You said one time that you invited me onto your channel. I don't recall that ever. But how about this? Maybe we can go to your channel and we can have an intellectual conversation. Discussion about passages in the Bible, why your interpretation does not hold up according to my view, according to my understanding. How's that? And I do want that to be live, not in the back room. See how you feel about that. And I can be civil. If you've seen some of the other debates, I can keep it cool. Especially when it matters. And that discussion will matter. We'll see if I'm as ignorant as you think I am. And we'll see if you're as honest as you say you are.
Have to explain grammar and teach him how to read it correctly when he doesn't know, rather than actually having a debate because he does know the information. So it's a waste of time. Keith, of course, he's not at that. He's not at the level of knowing the languages like that. So he doesn't know when the opportunity is there. You have to be trained in it. So again, but Jesse makes a video, attacks my scholarship again, doesn't realize why I'm an independent scholar. It's because I'm blessed to make enough money where I don't need to be out there in that scholarship. And there are literally thousands of graduate scholars out there in the Bible who don't use their PhD in certain areas, and they do other things. I have a friend of mine who started his own company. He has a PhD, did it overseas, well accredited school, and he started his own journal publishing company where he does peer reviewed work and publishes other people. And that's what he does. And he has a company on the side where he makes his money, because it's not something that most people can get into full time and make money. And if you can, great. But again, I still make more than they do. Why would I give up my comfortable living that God has blessed me with to go and give everything I have up to go work for pay that would not support my family?
Well, now that you're done showboating, Dr. Algarza, I never asked you to give anything up. So what's the relevance to the vocative case? What's all this got to do? Are you happy? You should be proud of your achievements and your blessings. That's cool. But like literally, what's this got to do with the vocative case? And where did I ask you to give it up? But would you give it up if Jesus asked you to? Would you be that little rich boy? Do you keep all God's commandments? Is that what you lack? Do you have to sell off everything you have and follow him? Would you do it? I'm not asking you to do it. But when you say, why would I just want to be clear. If God asked you to, would you do it? And I'm not asking you to give anything up. I'm asking you to stop picking on people and hiding like a coward, saying, I won't debate you because your God is AI. You're ignorant. You're ill-informed. You don't respect it. You know, I just now realized I know why it bothers him that I don't respect the opinions of scholars. Is because he can't argue the Bible. He pleads with authority. Is that it, Dr. Algarza? You can't come to me in a Bible debate, right, without authority? You would if you're going to bring a contextual argument, a grammatical argument, that's one thing. But to bring someone else's commentary and use it as, this is why I'm right and you're wrong, that's not logical. Is that what offends you when I say that I can refute scholars? I've refuted you many times, and I'm still doing it as we speak. Where do you want to go next? You want to go to 2 Kings 19? Like you did with Metaphysics Mike? Made your little short clip? You want to pretend like agency doesn't matter? Do you still hold to there's no angel in that chapter? Did the word actually come to people, or did it become to people, Dr. Algarza? Dr. Algarza, I have a question for you. Yo, Jared, I hope you pay attention to this. Watch this. This is going to be a great question for Dr. Algarza, who thinks Jesus is the Word of God. Where's the gotta get the right verse. There it is. Okay, Genesis 15. I hope you pay attention, Jared. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. The word here is haya. Haya is the verb of to be or become. To exist expresses one's state of being. So the word became to Abraham. If you go to the Greek Septuagint, I'm laying a foundation for you before I pose my question. This word right here, genomai, means to become, not the same as Amy. It is eris, which means passive, right? I'm not passive, past tense. I just saw the passive there. Okay, so it's very clear that both the Hebrew and the Greek says this word of the Lord, which is Jesus, became to Abraham. I'm not going to make the argument that Jesus came into existence, though I could. Dr. Al Garza, did God become the Abraham? Meaning, God came into existence to Abraham as if Abraham didn't already know he exists, from Genesis chapter 12, where he's told to get out of his country. What does it mean that Jesus, or are you going to tell me that Jesus wasn't known to Abraham? Isn't there one God? What are you telling me? Only 1/3 of God came into existence to Abraham? He didn't know the entirety of God till Genesis 15? And then when I read into verse 4, and it says, he that comes forth from your own bowels will be your heir. And Paul tells us that that promise was made to one seed, not seeds of many. Did Jesus come into existence, make himself known to Abraham, only to talk about himself? Hold on. Is this saying, will come forth from your own bowels? So, like, that implies that it's inside of Abraham, correct? So is Jesus talking to Abraham from his reproductive system right now? Honestly, these are silly questions for your silly position, but I will present a better argument than that. But your whole the word of the Lord came saying arguments don't hold up, bro. It doesn't hold up. Unless you want Jesus to come into existence to someone that already knew God, but I guess only 1/3 of God was absent. All right, back to the video. We got about 6 more minutes of him puffing his chest out. This was 28.5-minute video. 2 minutes was to address the vocative case. The other 26 minutes was to let you know about all his accomplishments, advertise some books, and tell us that he likes to hang out with Michael Brown.
That would be the stupidest thing I can do. God has given me a great company to run, a trade school and businesses, and I have my own publishing company as well. I'm on the board of another publishing company. Why would I give all that up so I can be a respected scholar in the field like Dan McClellan, who rejects the Bible, rejects Abraham, that if he even existed, Moses didn't exist. This is what really makes it interesting. These same Unitarians bring on Mormons to discuss about the Trinity, because Mormons.
He's pointing to Metaphysics for Mike right now because I watched his review of that event.
Don't believe in the Trinity. So a Unitarian will bring a Mormon on, and Mormons are polytheists. They actually believe that the Trinity, they believe that Jesus, the Spirit, and the God are 3 separate gods. But yet they're on talking about the Trinity. Oh, the Trinity's pagan. But yet
would you stop conflating me in that category? Just because I've never made this known to you, and I doubt you watched this long of the video, but I'm 100% monotheist. I don't believe there are multiple gods. Those that are called God are him by representation, even false gods, which is why he got mad that they gave his name to a false god that did not represent him. And oneness, they believe the Father alone is God, but I don't chill with them. Trinitarians, same way. JWs and I even get into it over the many gods concept and Jesus being Michael. So properly address me, Dr. Al Garza, because like every critical thing I've ever said about you, I was able to back up. Right now you're making false claims, which is why I said you were a dishonest scholar.
The Mormon is polytheist. They'll bring on a Muslim scholar to discuss the Trinity, a Muslim who rejects Jesus as the Messiah, Son of God, and take away the sins. And yet a Unitarian person will bring a Muslim scholar because they can bash the Trinity. Yet,
furthermore, Jared, the same construction is in John chapter 10, verse 35. He didn't call them gods to whom the word came. He called them gods to whom the word became.
Or a Unitarian will cuddle up next to Dan McClellan and get next to him and affirm that Paul probably didn't write Colossians, most likely, even though it's absurd in scholarship itself that he did. Early church fathers, all that, never debated whether Paul wrote Colossians. And of course, this Unitarian agrees with Dan, a liberal secular scholar. And so these are people they cuddle up to. And so it's interesting because if they agree that the Trinity or the persons or the nature of God is not plural, they'll bring everybody under their umbrella. A Muslim, Mormon, a secular scholar, and they'll bow at their feet. So
It's not true, bro. But I'll give it to you. It is a shame that many Unitarians are unequally yoked with unbelievers. That is a shame.
at least I'm more consistent. I have the scholarship behind me within Christian scholarship, books written by Oxford on the Trinity, other books on Britain on the powers. I'm bringing up things that I've already talked about many years ago, the grammar books that affirm what I'm saying. So the fact that people accuse me of making stuff up, that's
So Tavish, when we get down to it, his argument is actually defame. What is that called? Defamation? We bow to the feet of Muslims. Woo. You guys are silly, but hey, we gotta be silly. It's a coping mechanism to try to keep us from losing our mind from all these lies and misrepresentation. That honestly, when you guys see me as goofy as I've been in this video and other videos, it's a coping mechanism for me to try to brush off things that would typically seriously what's the word? Have an impact? We'll see.
the comical part, because my library is where I go for my sources and to read and to show that what I'm saying is not something that I'm doing on my own. So being an independent scholar gives me that freedom, and I would not give it up. If a university honestly asked me, hey, we'd love to have you on your full-time faculty staff and to do writing, I would still say no, because I would literally have to give up everything that I have. And
Tell me that ain't the best place for a face. Dude, hold on. Since you guys like giggling, let me see something. What can I do here? How about this one? Oh, that didn't work. Get off of there. Get off there. Aw. What? It's not working. Oh well. We'll get back to the video. There it is. There's some silliness for the crowd. Dr. Garza, I hope you get a laugh out of this, man. Try to lighten up.
struggle in that field just so what? People can say, oh, look, he works for that university, he must be respected. That's not how respect is received. That's not how respect is earned either. So I have enough respect from a lot of scholars out there that I have communicated. And like I said, all I need is one great scholar like Dr. Michael Brown, who's a good friend of mine, like I said, and for them to say there is nobody respects Dr. Garza.
You
no
stupid.
scholar respects him.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
Did you hear that?
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
Well, unless you're talking about secular scholars or people like Dan McCullen or maybe a Unitarian scholar that you might know. Of
Damn,
course,
son, where'd you find
I
this?
don't agree with them. Christian scholars have problems with them and don't respect them either. So if a Christian scholar doesn't respect people like Dan McCullen for his conclusions, it doesn't matter where Dan graduated from or what he's done. His soul is lost. In the end, when he has to stand before the judgment seat of the Messiah, he'll have to give an answer, and it's not going to save them. His secular scholarship is not going to save them for his rejection of the scriptures and who Jesus is. And that's the way it works. So I don't care who respects me and doesn't respect me. I have great friends in scholarship who I respect them and they respect me and my work, and they've used my work. They've referenced my work. They cited my work. Even in a dissertation they wrote, they cited my work. I can care less what Unitarians say when they make these lies about no scholar respects me. That's when you know they're desperate and they have nothing else to stand on. So just remember that. And that goes with any.
Yeah, well, keep running for me, Dr. Algarza. I'll make sure I keep tagging you in my videos so that I can help boost your ego so the world can know you. And yeah, have fun with that, bro.
But if they attack you personally or have to attack who you are, like Jesse does and other Unitarians, and they'll make
What did he say?
That's because they've lost the argument. The substance isn't there, and they have to go that route. So unfortunately, that's the case. So I just want to make this clear. It's been 26 minutes now. You can go. I'll leave the links here for his video. Again, you know, Jesse
Emotional damage
with the fundamentals of basic grammar, and his. I've written on 2 Samuel 7.
Fundamentals of basic grammar. What are the fundamentals of basic grammar? A subject, a verb, a predicate, maybe a direct object. I mean, that's a basic sentence structure in English. Greek subject would be nominative, accusative would be direct object, dative would be indirective object in the most basics, not talking about the nuances of those. Genitive express many things. Origin, possession, different things like that. Attributive, adjectival, voice, active voice. The subject does the action to an object. Not always in every in intransitive verbs. There isn't always in intransitive. There isn't a direct object, but the subject can be active. Middle voice. The subject is a part of the action. Passive. The subject is receiving the action. I hate that word. Because I used to say indicative, but it's indicative. It's basically equal to our English declarative sentence, stating a fact. Subjunctive expresses possibility, hypothetically. There's vocative, there's pluperfect, perfect, aorist. Second aorist just has a different spelling. I got the basics, Dr. Algarza. Imperative, thank you. Imperative, thank you. Imperative. They even have in the Greek Septuagint in Genesis chapter 1, they even have, I think it's a third person imperative to try to capture the jussive stem of the Hebrew. Dr. Algarza, I got enough that you could work with me, but the fact is, you don't want to work with me because honestly, you're not going to be able to deal with the arguments I bring. And that's a fact because you're not built on the rock of Jesus Christ's words. You can't do it. Why do I want a debate with you so bad? Because you bully people, man. And you misrepresent the scholarship that you have. People look to you, certified scholar, he's telling the truth. Look to me, uncertified nobody, I'm going with the certified scholar. And then the certified scholar leads them to astray. Let your boys that you train come to a debate with me with what you taught them, and I will make them look silly. Why? Because you do just what Sam Shimon does. You send people into battle with broken weapons. You send them to battle, and they think they're fully equipped, but they ain't even got a clip in their gun. They ain't got a bullet. You give them a paper bag and tell them it's a bulletproof vest. Come on, man.
Talking about Genesis and Elohim, the plurality being used all throughout the Genesis, all the way to 2 Samuel and David. So this is not a plural of majesty. This is not a plural of intensity that comes way later 18th, 19th century, even plural majesty, European version. But even with plural of majesty, it's still a plural because the kings used to sit there and say, "You are in our presence," referring to himself and God as he's like the authority with God. So when the kings would say, "Come into our presence" or "stand before us," and it's just him, he's referring to God and himself, plurality. It's a plural of majesty with more than one. So even the original concept of plural majesty was affirming more than one. It just was used.
Hey, Jared, if you're around, and I never posted a link to this live, did I? If you're around, Jared, I'll show you something in the Hebrew that I discovered prepared for this upcoming debate. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't even think to post that live, the link to this live, but you can join if you want. It's at the end of this video. He's boring. Still talking about him.
In an exalted way between a king and God. I didn't mean one person. So, but again, all he has to do is Jesse has to Google it. You ask AI, but that's what you get. So anyway, thank you for watching Black Belt Theology and Apologetics. Jesse has to Google it. You ask AI, comment, but subscribe. That's what you get. And again,
oops.
Thank you and God bless.
Oh. All right, so there we go. The teacher has become the student. For those that are unaware, I said I could come in about 15 minutes. I'll wait 15 minutes for you. I'll do another rundown on my information. Maybe I'll do it in a presentable manner so that I can actually maybe crop it or clip it so that I can post it to teach other people. So here we go. Let me get that back on the screen. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so brothers and sisters, what I have done to challenge John 20:28 of whether or not Jesus is God, is called God or Lord. It's as I was reading the Gospel of John, every time there was a direct address, I recorded it. And for clarity, a direct address is referring to someone by name or a title, actually calling them by a name or a title. I recorded every instance. And this is my findings, sorry. And I will post this link in the description so that you guys can come here, review it, copy and paste it. Use it for your own reference against someone who would try to make the same argument. In John's Gospel, I have 57 different direct addresses, and every single one of them have a vocative case. Then I have, take this 10 out of here, I have 10 direct addresses that do not have a vocative case, which are all in Hebrew. Some of these are even interpreted as, and then the Greek word that it says is equivalent to the Hebrew word is actually in the vocative case. If you're a KJV reader, you may find that John chapter 8 verse 10 is not in the vocative case, where it says, when Jesus lifted him up himself and saw the woman, he said to her, "Woman, where are your accusers? Has no man accused you?" And the word woman here is in the nominative case. Hold on. But the woman, it says the genitive case. Oh, there it is. It's in the nominative case, not a vocative case. Vocative case would be for a direct address or an exclamation. the second verse, she said, "No, my Lord. Lord is also." Oh, this one's actually in the vocative case. So it's just the woman that's not in the vocative case. And this is because, and in this paper, it explains that when Erasmus was writing out the Textus Receptus, he got this story from the Latin Vulgate. And in Latin, they don't have a vocative case. The reason 1 John 5:7 is written the way it is, and the woman caught in adultery is written the way it is because Erasmus's writing preference was, as it is written, he transfers it. And that's one way people know 1 John 5:7 was not a part of the originals, but it was in the Vulgate. The question is, how did it get there? They don't have the original manuscripts for that, to the best of my knowledge. But this would be the only instance in the Gospel of John where there is a direct address with no vocative case. However, when you look at the critical text and other manuscripts, you'll actually see that the woman here is in the vocative case. I state this burden to anyone that believes John 20:28 is a direct address. Based on the overwhelming evidence that when there's a direct address in John's gospel, he uses a vocative case. I challenge anyone, just in case I overlooked, or maybe I'm hiding. Show me where there is a nominative for a direct address in John's gospel, without assuming John 20:28, because that's the verse in question. We can't use circular reason. And regarding Hebrews 1:8, Hebrews 1:8 is a citation from Psalm 45. How do I know that this king, according to the first verse, it's about a king, is not being called God? In the highest sense, meaning the true God. Could he be called a God? Or could he be called God as a representative? That could be a possible reading, though I didn't see any other person call another person God in the Old Testament, so I wouldn't really be prone to believe that. How do I know it's not the God? Because if you read verse 4, it says, "Your right hand will teach you." The king's right hand will teach him. But how can you teach? No. What right hand can teach the all-knowing God? That might strike my buddy in the comments, Tavish, but bear with me. So it's very likely that the king in the context is not the God, because you can't teach him. There's also context that shows that he has a wife. Some people want to argue that that represents Jerusalem. And he has a daughter, and he's going to have children with her, the daughter. If the church is the wife, who is the daughter that God is going to have children with? These are obstacles that one would have to overcome to say that the person in Psalm 45 is being called God before they can assert Hebrews 1:8. But I want to show you one final thing. In Hebrews 1:8, the word God here is not in the vocative case as we're discussing, but if you scroll down 2 verses, this word Lord is in the vocative case. Actually, I didn't show you that. You don't know that form means that. Vocative case right there. So what is the odds that a vocative case won't be used there and 2 verses later it will be? There's Jared. that's where I'll leave off for this clip at the moment. So welcome, Jarrett.
Shalom, shalom.
Yeah. So can you see the wording pretty good?
Yes.
I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger because I don't ever use this. Oh boy. All right, we'll do with that right there. Jared, I was in Exodus chapter 6, and I was reading about where God says He's going to redeem them. It says in verse 6 through 8, "Wherefore say to the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will rid you out of their bondage and redeem you with an with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for people." Let me swap this because I gotten used to this one over here. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Exodus 6 verse 7. I will take you to me for a people. Right here, Lamed, and then I think this is which kind of weird. Oh yeah, is people. That's right.
Mhm.
And I will be to you a God. Look, Lamed, for Elohim. Now I want to take you to Exodus chapter 4 verse 16. And I want to propose a possibility. "And he shall be your spokesman, that's Aaron, to the people, and he shall be to you instead, Lamed, that's pay, uh Lepay, I guess,
Mhm.
for a mouth, and you shall be to him, Lamed Elohim." So for Elohim. So what I want to point out is in Exodus 6:7, Lamed Elohim, Exodus 4:12, Lamed Elohim. I look at this four language as Moses is representing something, and Moses is representing Elohim. And if I'm consistent with my understanding, that means God also represents Elohim. And what I think it's really expressing is that this is a position that God entered into. This is the position that Yod He Vav He specifically entered into.
Mhm.
Do you understand? Like not that God is actually an ontological identity, but perhaps it's an identity. It could be a title identity, but I don't know the proper
Are you
way
thinking
to
more in
articulate.
Are you thinking more in terms of a relational identity?
Yeah,
Right.
maybe like a role.
Uh,
Yeah, and Elohim would be roles that things can operate under, such as angels, kings. Even God would enter into that role, or Yod He Vav He. That's more personal because we don't want to. If in this context of discussion, we wouldn't want to identify God concretely as His role.
yeah, because I mean, again, it's using the Hebrew verb haya to become. That I will be.
Yes,
And
that's
so it's so weird. People, I don't know why people want to read ontology into that verb, like even to the point where some uh, some uh, dictionaries or whatever want to say that it's as if somebody would say I exist, and they would use haya there. Like no, haya is not an existence verb. It's a copula. like to be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's was, will be, let it be. Yeah, there's even different senses of the imperfect. You could say, it could be I will be, or it could be the what's the word I'm looking for? But not like let it be. So he's not saying I exist your like I exist your God, or it's like no, I will be, I will become, just in the same way that it's the same way that uh the declaration of the Father to the Davidic king in Psalm 2, well, I'm sorry, 2 Samuel 7:14, I will be to him, I will become to him a father. um yeah, so is that you tracking with that?
Yeah.
So that my point would be with that it's, yeah, it's like a rule. It's a relational rule. It's not talking about ontology. So others can represent um, what God will be to people by being invested with authority and commission, and certainly given power to perform various workings and acts that show forth that show to demonstrate the representation. And that's certainly what
Yeah.
God did through Moses.
This is an interesting concept that it could really explain a lot of things in the Bible. Because like right now where I stand, when he says that he's Elohim, there's none other, and those that are called Elohim, I interpret it as representing him, representing his role. But him
Mhm.
saying that he's in that role, it might literally be a role and not an ontology. His ontology would actually be wrapped up. It would actually be wrapped up in his name,
Mhm.
because that would be the single point in which he could be identified at. You know, like all things come back into his name. He is that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't. I just wanted to
it's
share that with you.
yeah. Um, it's just saying that he's going to become whatever it is that is necessary to bring forth the purposes that he has.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to Exodus 3:14, uh, Echia, Asher, Echia, it's the same call imperfect form of Haya, Echia, which is I will become who I will become.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when you were talking earlier. I was wondering about the spelling difference, but I could see that this is not the same spelling. That was imperfect. This one's sequential perfect, which is why it be spelled a little different. The difference would be imperfect can be translated as future tense, but sequential imperfect connects it to a verb before that. That's why sequential. And the weird thing is in Hebrew, sequential imperfect represents past tense and sequential perfect represents future tense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why the spelling difference. But I actually used to understand Exodus 3:14 as referring to the promise that was made to Abraham. I think it's in Genesis chapter 17 that
So
he will be their God.
when you when you're saying sequential, are you talking about it's consecutive?
A what?
When you're saying sequential, are you talking about it's consecutive?
It's sequential, meaning it's a sequence from, it's connected to a verb before that. So here God says he will take. This would be the main verb. Oh, no, this is sequential also. And here is sequential. So the redeem is sequential. They're I don't know, marked out mainly because they have a vav in front of the verb, which makes them sequential to the verb before that. This one here would and rid you with force, and I will bring. This would be sequential also.
Yeah,
With force connecting it.
other parsings call it, and because it's that valve connection. It consecutive. It's like consecutive verbs.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Now here's one.
it's a perfect, but it's functioning because of the consecutive structure. It's functioning as an imperfect, like as a quote unquote future tense aspect.
Hmm.
That's how the consecutive structure works.
Yeah. These things are important, especially for reading Hebrew. Like the conjunctions and stuff like that in Hebrew and Greek are so important to connect passages of what's a part of what's a result of what, and where does it begin and end.
Go back down to verse 7. If you scroll back down to verse 7 for a second. Um, uh, Go to the I will take. Um, Scroll over that. What's the
The
um,
Strongs.
no, just the parsing on there. Scroll
Oh,
down to the parsing of that.
oh, it's first person.
Okay, yeah, and perfect. What
Yeah, I don't know if they pronounce the Q like qual like in English, but this is
I
cow.
say call.
Yeah, this would be active voice.
Yeah.
Gender common, which ooh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Gender common in the Blue Letter Bible. Usually, feminine nouns are common. I wonder what the heck is the feminine noun in this verse. Hey, what? Let me see what this is. Oh, another common. Say to the children, I heard. Dude, that got me confused now. But I wonder. There's L. L is masculine, but my name's masculine. That's got me. It doesn't being common. It could go both ways in Hebrew. I know that, but usually when the Blue Letter Bible sees a feminine subject, it just says common for some reason.
Mm.
Yeah, that's something that I'll ask ChatGPT later, so Dr. Algarza can get on me. Oh, the pronouns common, denoting a gender of nouns and adjectives conventionally regarded as either male or female. So yod is common as a pronominal suffix. But seeing that and this word here, this passive word is also common. What about God's name? It just says proper name. I don't know if maybe his name might be, maybe it's, I don't know. I'm so confused. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. I'm curious. In Exodus chapter 6, why are all those verbs common, which normally denotes feminine if God is masculine?
Mm. Well, it probably has something to do with the Wekatal structure.
Actually, it didn't hear me correctly. In Exodus chapter 6, why are all those verbs common in gender instead of masculine for God? For some reason, my mic is not working. Maybe it's because I got too many things going. Oh, because I have a video playing in the background. Let me close these things out. But that's something I'm going to look into. It doesn't necessitate that it's feminine. It's probably just saying common because it can go either way. But we all know God, the references to God are masculine. Yeah. Try again. In Exodus. The reason you may see described as common rather than masculine is that some Hebrew verse forms do not morphologically distinguish masculine from feminine. The perfect. So I think, well, these are all, a lot of these are sequential.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you remember the forms in God's first person speech. These are first person common singular first person forms. They're called common because Hebrew doesn't distinguish masculine and feminine in first person verbal forms. I didn't know that.
Mm.
Yeah. I got this on Dr. Al Garza's little review, so he can clip this. Jesse doesn't know something in Hebrew. He's so ignorant. Wow. But hey, can't say I'm ignorant now. I know something. Oh boy, you want to say anything else?
Um, let's see.
I think I'm going to hunt for Dr. Brown a video. Hey, why he's so stupid. Dude, I had someone make a video on me today. Oh my goodness. All he did was condemn me to hell because I believe that the English Bible isn't the original Bible.
Oh
He says I'm
Lord,
changing. Yeah, for real, dude. He was so cynical, talking to me about my snot nose and everything. I'm just a baby. I don't know nothing. I'm a dummy.
it's like that. It's like that guy who popped on at the very beginning uh, that had to be booted. That just like out of nowhere, it's like something snaps.
Yeah, about me
Like
going to hell or something.
that was, I mean, I'm sorry. It's like that is a mental illness. It has to be. I mean, that is not normal brain function.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, he wasn't oneness, so I don't know if I could put him in the Pentecostal charismatic moment.
Yeah, and I recall the quick conversation you were having with the Trinitarian guy that came on from TikTok on your earlier video about John 20:28. I mean, it's so interesting because I mean I've heard him come on before on other streams and it's like the first thing is so here let me throw this verse at you. John 20:28. Thomas says, "My Lord and my God," and then just like and then mic drop, like as if that was like a mic drop moment. he doesn't give an argument. He doesn't follow it up with like, this is what I believe that's saying, and this is why. It's just like, boom, John 20:28, mic drop. I just won the debate. Game over for you. Sorry. I hope you repent. Okay, bye. It's like, and that literally, that's the substance or lack thereof of that sort of thing. And and you try to be patient with them and explain, look, okay, John 14, where else is Jesus having conversation with Thomas and the others? And he's saying stuff like, you see, like, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And they're like, show us the Father. Well, okay, I'll show you the Father. All right, I died, and now I'm alive. You didn't, yeah. and it's like this. Okay, and Jesus would follow that up with, yes, yes, you call me God, and very truly so, for that is who I am. For that I am. It's kind of like, I mean, where he says earlier, it's like that you call me teacher, and that's you do well, because that I am. That was the perfect opportunity for Jesus to, to follow Thomas's exclamation, um, up with something like that, and then John himself saying, "These are written so that you may know that Jesus is God." It but that's not at all how the narrative plays out. I mean, Jesus doesn't follow it. Like, you would have Jesus following that up with something like, God and man has not revealed this to you, that um, but you have said well that I am God, and that is who I am. And uh, I mean, that would fit. I mean, that's John's style. I mean, that would be just lockstep and step with his method. If that were the case, like, there would be something like that in there. Yeah. But no, Thomas is just going to sneak in a little 5-second soundbite. Jesus God, okay, and next. So it's, yeah. Um, I like. I mean, I agree with the way that you handled that, in terms of, look, Jesus has had a prior conversation with them, and this is sort of the other end of that revelation. Now they know that you see me, you've seen the Father. Um, I am the resurrection and life. Now that you see me, believe. Well, blessed are those who haven't seen me and yet believe. Believe in what? Believe in the resurrection. And what just took place, folks? I mean, what was the demonstration?
So in John 20:29, because you've seen me, you believe. The statement is based on what he saw.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Is he literally the Father? The answer should be no.
Yeah.
But he can figuratively see the Father. The answer should be yes. The Father's God. So you can figuratively see God. That makes John 1:18 literal. No one has ever literally saw God. We
Mhm.
can figuratively see him, but no one has ever really seen him. So what Thomas actually saw and believed was figurative, and it wasn't literal, which would point back to John 14.
Mhm.
Did that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, there's so much. I mean, that could be said about that. In the Beatitudes, Yeshua says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Well, in what sense do they see God? Well, let's go back to the foundation, the Hebrew Scriptures. Um, David proclaims, uh, "Who may ascend the hill of the Lord? He who has clean hands and a pure heart." Um, why would you go to ascend the hill of the Lord? Well, in order to go into the sanctuaries where you could see the presence of God in a cloud and glory. I mean, that's the hope. Um, but you have to wash yourself. You have to be clean. Um, and how do you do that? Well, you take in the Word. the word that sanctifies you, the word that washes you. It's the word, the word of the Lord, the word of God. So I'm sort of just I'm sort of connecting a lot of different things together to make the point about
Yeah.
uh,
I was
this
looking to see
the sense in
I
which
was
the pure
looking
in
to
heart.
see the structure of that verse you brought up about Jesus saying he's the resurrection. Yeah. To see if it's qualitative or something like that. Yeah. Oh boy. Washed them in the word, right?
Mhm.
I wonder if there's nothing striking my mind about being washed in the spirit. Because the spirit of truth, I read that as a genitive of content, where the word contains truth.
Yeah,
And no, the spirit contains truth. And Jesus says truth is God's word in John 17:17. So this
exactly.
would be the spirit that contains the word of God. And if they receive the spirit, they would receive the word of God in themselves. But
Hmm.
it's interesting. Peter says, and I think it was at the end of Acts 5, that God gives the Holy Spirit to those that obey him. So I'm like wondering about passages like Acts 10 where they received the Holy Spirit because they believed, but where was the obedience? Like all they did was believe. They didn't even do anything yet to be obedient, but they received it. You know what I mean?
Well, read Acts 10:35 though, and it gives the reason. Peter's own admission is that um, God shows no partiality, but that He welcomes or accepts uh, the one who works righteousness.
So who's he speaking to here? These are
Peter's speaking to,
people.
yeah,
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 these are uncircumcised people, and this was the Cornelius was already being righteous, right? So God spoke to him and said for Peter.
yeah.
So he was already working righteousness.
Hmm.
I think because I was thinking about this a while ago. I thought it was Acts chapter 5, like the last verse. I'm gonna peep it. He gives the Holy Spirit to those that obey him.
Yeah, and even Hebrews 5:9, he became because he was perfected through suffering, he became the source of eternal salvation to all those who obey him. And
Uh,
this is fundamentally the Shema, hear and obey, listen.
yeah, I'm way off. It's not in any of these chapters.
I forget off the top. I know which verse you're talking about. But
Yeah, I thought it was at the end of the chapters. Uh, I can't put Holy Spirit in because the KJV. You know why they translate some as Holy Ghost and some as Holy Spirit? Because ghost is a ghost is like a personified spirit. So like when
Mhm.
Holy Spirit isn't in reference to a person, they translated it as Holy Spirit. But if it's a person of God, they translate it as Holy Ghost.
Right.
That's why
Yes.
they yeah, there it is. God gave to those that obey him.
Yeah.
I want to look at the word obey just to double check that it's not translated right. Persuaded by a ruler. To be persuaded by a ruler. That's a pretty broad term.
Hmm.
Yeah. See what it looked. I do use Chat GPT for definitions and stuff, but to be obedient to submit authority. Submit authority would make more sense in the context, though. Because, like, you can, when you repent, that's a change of mind. So, like, it's not just remorse, it's a change of mind, which means a decision is made. And at that point, right there, you can submit to authority by making that decision and receive the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there doesn't have to be a history of obedience.
Yeah. Paul uses the term, in Romans 6, he uses the term yield your members. You can either yield your members to unrighteousness or yield your members to righteousness.
I can't recall an American being a KJV only. It's, it's hilarious. I kind of am. And he knows me.
What was that
I only.
comment?
What's that?
What was that comment?
Oh, he can't imagine. And hold on.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't
Yeah.
recall an American. I'm an American and I'm a KJV onlyist. But I don't stay in the English translation, so I guess I'm not true to being an onlyist. The only reason I use the Texas Receptus is because they don't have the any textual variants in it from Alexandrian texts. You know, it's weird.
What's
What
that?
is it? I think it's like I'm going to mess up this name. It's like Codex Ephraemus or something like that. The Gospels are in Byzantine, but Paul's letters are in Alexandrian. There's a couple of codexes like that has like the Gospels are in Byzantine, but the codex other letters are in Alexandrian text. What's odd though, it seems like all the Alexandrian texts are the ones that have the variants that support Jesus being God. And when we think about, I haven't done a lot of research, but allegedly Egypt, Alexandria was like a hub of Gnosticism.
Oh yeah.
So it would make sense that these texts that show Jesus. Oh, Jared, I have an inference for you.
Mhm.
So let's go to John. There's something going on here, laying whether or not Jesus is God aside. John 5:6. This is he that came by water and blood, even Jesus Christ, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Spirit bears witness, because the Spirit is the truth. So he's talking about those that deny that Jesus came in the flesh.
Yeah.
And that Jesus comes by water and blood. I've read commentaries that said some people think that he was combating a form of Docetism. Some people say even Gnosticism.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I mean,
but
I'd say that's pretty well established in the scholarship on John's epistle. Both,
okay,
both rhetorically, and, both rhetorically, like the structure of it, and historically, contextually.
all right. So do you think that that would be an objective, like one of the purposes this epistle was written?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. The very, like First John 4:2. If you probably, I mean, you're very familiar with that because you've probably been hit with it many times by Trinitarians. 1 John 4:2 is the passage where he says, um, the spirit that does not confess that Jesus came in flesh is of the Antichrist.
Mhm.
And I mean that is a straight dig at Gnosticism, at Docetism.
I
That's yeah.
I think that John's epistle might have been written before his letter, because we can see in the letter it appears as a purpose, like he's combating something. But if you in John 19 verse 34 it says, and one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came out blood and water, and he that saw it bare record. So it doesn't seem like he's trying to convince anybody of anything. It's as if they already have this knowledge of what he's supposed to be bearing record to. So I think the Gospel of John was actually written after the first epistle.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm particularly well versed in. The chronology of the writings of those, and to a particular like specificity. So I
And he
couldn't really.
knows that he's say it's true that you might believe.
Mhm.
And then you're supposed to also, in the next chapter, he wrote this, that you would believe Jesus is the anointed Son of God. I argue that that should be translated as anointed, and the Christ is not a proper noun like they assume it to be. And
Yeah,
the reason they can't translate it as a proper as an adjective, because it has consequences. If you say he's an anointed son of God, that means he's not an ontological son of God.
Mhm. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I do not understand at all the 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 tendency among even biblical Unitarians sometimes. I mean, probably not so much among biblical Unitarians, but Unitarians in general. Uh, this uh, the need to confess that the Son of God, that Jesus is the Son of God, was like literally ontologically begat from God, like out of God, like God procreated. Um, I just don't. I mean, there's a few people you probably know an individual that I have in mind, the same one that I have in mind that's on a lot of the streams. And he's just it's just like this is all he talks about. He wants to preach that Jesus procreated out of God, literally. And it's of the same essence. He's not the Almighty, but the Almighty procreated himself, a um, lesser God, like literally out of his essence. And it's like no, 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 no. Sorry, God does not procreate. It's like full stop. Like God doesn't procreate other
Well,
beings out of himself.
Trinitarians agree with that. God doesn't procreate, because if you ask before Jesus was begotten, did he exist? They'll say yes. So he was never procreated. He was never begotten.
Yeah, yeah.
There was no before he was begotten.
But
He was always begotten.
eternally begotten.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy. So he just
it's just
exists
like
as a son.
like that sort of theological baggage, like that that means nothing to me. It means not. It's not. It does nothing for me. It doesn't help me relate to Jesus. It doesn't help me relate to God in any meaningful way. It's just a mouthing, like a mouthing of words. Um, to me, Israel is God's firstborn son. Um, there is no substantive difference really between um, in the sense of how Israel is called the son of God, how David is called the son of God in terms of and the Davidic kings being made sons of God, so that he would be a father to them and they would be a son to him. And Yeshua being the Son of God. It's just
I want to
this,
throw something.
this Son of God is the first Son of God to be resurrected from the dead and exalted. Like that's what makes him unique among among sons of God. I mean, uh, he is Israel in the sense of the epitome and the representative, the one who is doing precisely what Israel was set apart and called to do. And he's bringing that to pass at the fullness of time. It's just that what makes him unique is that God raised him from the dead. I don't understand how it's in that further sense that he really is the Son of God. Not it's forward looking. It's the fact it's about his resurrection. It's not about him being procreated out of God.
You know, when I was reading John chapter 5 a long time ago, I thought it was kind of weird because I did read the Old Testament. I used to like reading the stories. I didn't read the prophets because I'm talking about when I was a teenager. And I didn't like the book of Leviticus. It was full of rules. I didn't like the numbers because there were so many numbers in between the stories. I tried to skip around, but I read like the stories. I didn't like Chronicles because of all the genealogies and stuff like that. I like read the stories and then jumped to the New Testament. But when I was reading the stories, there was nothing about a a son of God in the way that I understood John chapter 5. Like, what is it? Because, like, I believe Jesus was divine. Even after I found out that he wasn't God, I
Mhm.
questioned whether or not he was Michael. I believed in pre-existence or something.
Mhm.
And like, why is it these Jews recognize what Jesus is claiming when he claims to be a son of God in a divine begotten sense? And it just didn't make no sense to me.
Mhm.
But yeah, because I mean, like, if you just like put yourself in the mind of them and not in the Christian mind, what in the Old Testament would suggest that God had a real son? I even went through. Have you ever heard of the Akkadians and Sumerians?
Yes.
Anu, Enki, and Lil. You heard of them?
Yes.
Yeah, I considered that maybe they knew who God was. That Anu was the Most High God, the Sky God,
Mhm.
and I think Inky was the troublemaker. I can't remember. So I thought maybe he was Satan, and I thought Enlil would have been Jesus. I considered that even that because like I when when God says the iniquity of the Amorites are not at a full to Abraham, I considered that maybe God had a covenant with the Amorites. And the Amorites, they have histories with them type of religions.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly thought God had a covenant with the Amorites. I considered that maybe Melchizedek was an Amorite. I got these inferences from like Ezekiel 16, where it's talking about Jerusalem's mother was a Hittite, which had over 1,000 gods, and the father was an Amorite. So I kind of, and he's talking about he found Jerusalem and clothed her and cleaned her up, this and that. I don't know. I used to think some crazy things, trying to discover, and here I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, trying to think. I did have one more thought on the whole Son of God thing. I'm trying to remember what it was. Um, but yeah, I think it's good to sort of defamiliarize oneself with terms like Christ. Like, I mean, one way of doing that is simply to say um, Messiah, because we're so accustomed to hearing Jesus Christ that it's almost like, oh yeah, so Christ is basically Jesus' last name, like, like, and so when we see the word Christ by itself, like we're automatically, it's like we're sort of primed to think, oh well, that's just Jesus. Well, hold on, because Peter is talking about in First Peter, he's talking about how the spirit of Messiah moved upon the prophets of old, so that they would look into the matter of um, who and in what manner the Messiah would when they spoke of the sufferings of Messiah. Um, it's like there is it's a prophetic spirit. And that spirit of Messiah has existed in every generation. It moved upon people. It moved upon David to declare his own descendant, and just like there's a spirit of counsel and the spirit of wisdom and spirit of revelation. Um, these aren't all persons within within the God essence. These are breaths. They're prophetic. Uh, their prophetic breath comes upon people, and then it causes them to speak, to declare the oracles of God concerning Messiah. So like, eh, and then another sort of another step in that to defamiliarize is, like you said, the anointed Son of God. Um, it has a framework already in the scriptures, and to sort of insert the theological baggage um, of Christ, and divorce it from the existing framework that we have of the anointed. Um, it by definition excludes Jesus from being the Almighty, because the Almighty doesn't need to be anointed. I mean, you've made that. I mean, we've all made that argument before. So it's just, yeah. So that was my thought there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Psalm 2, 6, and 7? The decree would be the fulfillment of 2 Samuel 7:14 regarding Solomon. Acts
Um,
says that these are the words of David, but it doesn't mean David was speaking about himself. What if he's
right.
talking about how he was a part of the coronation? I think that's what you call it when you crown a king. He
Yeah.
crowned his king, his son,
Mhm.
and the ask of me would be a part of the citation, and he'll give the heathen for an inheritance. But and then I'm thinking about what Solomon actually asked him about wisdom,
Mhm.
but I don't remember the story to see if there was God gave him a request. Did God give Solomon a request? I forget.
Well, Solomon did request wisdom, and then he was given that.
No, I mean, like, did God offer it to him? Ask me anything, and I
Oh,
would do it
I see
for
what
you.
you're saying.
Good night, Tavish. I need to go back and read. But I wondered about that. I might look into that more because that may be David speaking, but it would actually be about his son. That would definitely do damage to the Trinity because this wouldn't be an ontological begetting.
Mhm.
But then again, they still got to deal with the day that that person's actually begotten. It can't be eternally begotten as long as there's days. That's a temporal noun. You can't be eternally begotten if there's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My current understanding is that just in terms of Jewish commentary, is that I mean, really, any of the Davidic kings at their coronation, that this applies to. Um, it's sort of like um the same connection that like a psalm like Psalm 45. Um, it's but particularly Psalm 2. It's um, I mean, the proclamation, the decree of the Lord being declared here is um, before that. The one enthroned in heaven laughs, the Lord taunts them, then he rebukes them in his anger and says, I have installed my king on Zion upon my holy mountain. I mean, this is where God is dwelling, and now he's saying, I've installed my king on my holy mountain. So this is enthronement. Um, that it would be viewed every time that the king would a new king would assume the throne and assume the rule. That this is a declaration over him.
Yeah. So, you know, Psalm 82 may be a prophecy about Messiah. You made me think of it when you were talking about like Psalm 45 and stuff. Have you ever heard or even considered that concept?
Is there a particular verse that you have in mind, or just the entire thing?
The entire psalm, but verse 1 has something significant about it. If you look at the Hebrew, well, first off, Chronicles, and I forget the exact citation, tells us that Asaph was one of those that prophesied with like harps and cymbals. So he's a prophet, a Psalm of Asaph. He's a prophet. And he would have been in the early part of Solomon's reign and was definitely in David's reign. So that puts in the time of Solomon and David. Going to the Hebrew, it says Elohim or an Elohim stands is passive. Nifl is passive. Has is stood up. Is stand is appointed in congregation of ale. So I would say, because this what mighty, we think it sounds plural, a congregation of mighty ones, but it's singular. It's ale. So I think the congregation belongs to ale, and the Elohim is one of many Elohim in this chapter, but there is one particularly that has been set up in the congregation of Ale in uh, among the Elohim he judges. So this Elohim that was stood up was supposed to judge over the congregation of Ale. Then it starts going through the rebuke and everything here.
Well,
But it says,
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he quotes this in John 10 to those who are judging unrighteously. I mean, the leaders here, the Pharisees, he even rebukes them at another time. I don't know. I can't remember if it's in the Gospel of John elsewhere or in one of the other Gospels. He is exhorting them, to give righteous judgment, because at that time they're giving unrighteous judgment and condemning the innocent. I believe I want to say that this is Matthew 12. It's the incident where they're going through through the fields of grain, and they're picking the heads and eating. And the Pharisees come and say, your disciples are doing what's unlawful on the Sabbath. And then he gives the legal precedent from the Hebrew scriptures themselves, to acquit his disciples of any guilt in the matter. And he tells the Pharisees to, goodness gracious, people, for once, judge righteously, give righteous judgment. And so this is, the verbiage, the verbal equivalency, because in verse 2 he's saying, how long will you judge unjustly, unrighteously, and show partiality to the wicked? And so, yeah, it's interesting to make inference to Jesus sort of embodying this psalm and saying, I'm standing in judgment in the assembly of other judges, and I'm saying, you judges, you're not judging righteously, you're judging unrighteously. And though you are called Elohim, you will die like men. Like you'll be demoted, basically.
Or I'll have to look again. Obviously, the word means Adam, but I don't know if there's a definite article off the top of my head. But maybe he's telling them that to judge righteously or you'll perish like Adam. But I forgot about this. This here stood is a participle. Participle is nifl. It's passive, but the judging is imperfect, which tends to be translated as future tense. So instead of he judges, which makes it sound like present tense, it would be he will judge as a future tense. And then obviously there's how long, all these questions. It's difficult to say whether or not the one speaking, Asaph, is speaking as a prophecy, like God is speaking through Asaph, or Asaph himself is speaking. But who said this? If Asaph himself is speaking, he said that the sons of God are Elohim. If he's prophesying, God says through Asaph, the sons of God are Elohim. And they were unalive like men and fall like one of the princes. And then there's no change in speaker in the context. That's assumed. If we just let the speaker speak, it says, arise Elohim, judge the earth. So if this goes back to verse 1, the Elohim that is stood up and is set up or is appointed over the congregation of El, and he will judge, here is him actually acting on what will be done. It says, arise Elohim, that one particular one, to judge the earth, for you will inherit the nation. This is imperfect also. Now, I want to look at the word arise, though. See exactly. Oh, kum. Let me see. Kum. I want to see. I can't remember. Hosea chapter 6. I want to see if it's the same word. There's two words, and I forget. Revive us. No, not revive us. Raise us up. It's kum. And I believe this is the prophecy talking about the 3 days Jesus would be resurrected. After 2 days, he will revive us. And the third day, he will raise us up. And we will live in his sight. And what if this is also related to Matthew? Because the graves were open when Jesus died, but they didn't come out until after he resurrected. And then I've also considered that this wasn't a real resurrection like we're actually expecting in Revelation. That this could be speaking of like spiritual resurrection. So I don't know. Maybe God's telling this person in Psalm 45 who may be Messiah to rise. Maybe it is resurrection to judge the earth because he's supposed to inherit the nations as a result. Or maybe he's just saying stand up. I don't know. It doesn't have to be resurrection related. I think it makes sense that it's a messianic prophecy.
What does the LXX have in Psalm 82:8?
Oh,
How is it?
LXX, everything's written differently. You won't be able to make that inference. So I forget what this word in Hebrew is, but there's Hotheos. And this here,
Krenon is
Krenon,
judge. Yeah,
yeah, judge
render judgment.
the earth that you, I don't know that big word, and
Oh.
all the, and I don't know this word, ethnos, and all the nations. I'll open another in English translation. Oh, I went way too far. I tripped. But I don't trust the Septuagint when it comes to these things because after they came from Babylon, they were way too spiritual. Oh God,
Yeah.
who
Just
will compare?
you just glance at Exodus 3:14 on the LXX to see that.
Yeah. All right, it's 81 in the Septuagint. God stands in the assembly of gods, and in the midst of them he will judge the gods. How long will you judge unrighteously and accept the persons of sinners? Pause. Judge the orphans and poor. Do justice to the low and needy. Rescue the needy and deliver the poor out of the hand of the sinner. They know not nor understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundation of the earth shall be shaken. I have said ye are gods, and all of you children of the Most High. But you will die as men and fall as one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you will inherit the nations. So who is this speaking, though? Is God telling God? Because that's a Trinitarian argument, which is why I considered an alternate reading. I think it may be messianic, but they're implying that the Father is speaking, "Ye are gods," and He is telling the Son to arise, which is the same God but a second person. I don't know if you've heard that argument before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's been tossed around in the apologetic sphere. I mean, I'm just not aware of any like scholarly commentary who would like look at this and say, "Oh yeah, look, one person of God talking to the other person of God." You know, like doesn't strike me as a scholarly position.
Hey, I thought about a trick today, a trap. Let's be consistent. Is Yod He Vav He God? Yes.
Yes.
In Genesis 19:24, how many Yod He Vav He's are there here? 2. What's my next question?
Um.
They're willing to call Yod He Vav He by a number. And if Yod He Vav He is God, why are they not calling gods by numbers? If this is 2 Yod He Vav He's, this is 2 gods. How are you going to say this is 2 Yod He Vav He's but 1 God? Yod He Vav He equals God. So if you're going to say there's 2 Yod He Vav He's, you should say there's 2 gods. I think that has potential for an argument
Yeah.
to show.
I mean, really, with that, I mean, I still think it boils down to what you've essentially locked Keith into, which is his insistence that uh, that the essence is God.
It's crazy.
That God is the essence, and that there's three Yahweh persons. But again, that's just easily because you can press them on that, and then they'll go like Keith did to the analogy of humans. I mean, he's not the only one who's done that. It's not like a Keith thing. I mean, that's pretty common. It's like while while on the one hand confessing or admitting, or at least claiming that there is no other thing that we could point to in all of reality where that would be analogous or comparable to the essence that God is, because they're pointing to essence as an actual thing that exists, and
Yeah.
and that's the trap, and that's the thing that you can get them fumbling, and it's just okay, so all right, there's one humanity as an essence, and then there's millions and billions of human persons, and but they all share the same essence. There's one essence. Okay, but I'm sorry, but an essence doesn't have existence. In essence, isn't a
Well,
thing that exists until you instantiate it concretely into a hypostasis, and then you have a being. Well, then you
that makes
hypothesize again,
sense.
and you hypothesize again and again and again. You have multiple beings, um, and there is no. It's just and there's so many problems because then you have people praying to an essence, an abstract thing that doesn't exist. Um, and that's why I made in my comment earlier that in the chat that uh, this essence person distinction is not is not a distinction that exists in reality. It's a formal distinction that we make in our minds,
Mhm.
and it's not a real distinction, because when you point to a person, you are pointing to a being, um, and there's no real distinction um, in that sense, and because you can't point to an essence. No, an essence is a category of qualities that we have, by which we mentally categorize things and distinguish one being from another, because we have in our mind that there's an essence of a tree and that there's an essence of a human, but that a tree's essence is not something that exists. It's something that it possesses. It has that makes it what it is, and yada yada yada. So with the Genesis 19, so um, is Yahweh the essence? Well, no. Yahweh is a person. There's two persons here. Okay, so is God the essence? Um, and yeah, and it'll just lead to polytheism. He's got to keep them locked in there.
Yeah. I think that my final question had some interesting force because when I took in Isaiah 45 and it says that there is no God beside me, he said wherever God's used in the Bible, it always refers back to the what. So that's the essence that's speaking. So the essence says there's no God beside me, me referring back to the essence. That since persons and essences are not in the same category, that means no person is God, only the essence.
It'd be like saying I am a humanity. That's what I am, a humanity. And it's like, okay, here's my humanity speaking.
Well,
I
no. Humanity is essence. You are a human. So how about, so actually that's the difference. You are Jared. You are hypostasis. You are a person. You are human. You are what exists. Human is the being. Humanity is the essence. It's not you are humanity. You are human. But go ahead with your thing. My bad.
Yeah, no, I mean that's sort of what they dabble into is like this idea that I the what I am is humanity. Um, but yeah, the point being that essences don't act, don't speak. You don't pray to them. You don't interact with an essence. God is not an essence. God is a person. Like, full stop. The Bible never presents God as an essence or a what. God has qualities of divinity, and that could be what you might mean by essence, but that's because God has them. A person has them. And you have three persons who have divinity. That's three gods. That's three beings. I'm sorry. Go cry about it.
So they always say that I'm confusing the persons with the being. And my counter to that is to hold them consistent. So you're telling me that you can be God according to what you are, and you can be God according to who you are, correct?
Mhm.
They'll
Correct.
probably say yes.
Mhm.
So let's just talk about the who you are, not what you are. You have three distinct persons who are each God according to who they are.
Yeah.
So their personal identity being distinct equals three gods.
Mhm. And then like, no, 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 no. It's what
They
they
try to
are.
go back to the what? Yes, they try to go back to the what. Now,
And
if
yeah, and you caught that with on day three. And
Mhm.
Maurice, I think was his name, the other guy. Yeah, they were all sorts of flip flopping on that.
Yeah, they were. And if you appeal back to the one what, you can't be God according to who you are and maintain your distinction if you're still the same God
Hmm.
without collapsing without losing the distinction. You
Yeah.
can't be God according to who you are and there be one God and yet be distinct according to who you are.
Hmm.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't believe
I
that
thought
guy
it was
says he
I thought it
prays
was
that acid.
I thought it was, I mean, the other part of that that was crazy was the whole root of David thing. Um because he it's funny because he's the one, Maurice is the one who brought out the plant analogy. Okay, the root is what creates the plant. I'm like, what? No, no, no. I'm sorry. And then you're like, oh, okay, okay. Let's go that route. So, um, the if God is the root, the creator, if you're going to use root as in this anachronistic sense of creating, then is the root the same essence as the rest of the tree or the rest of the plant? So the whole plant is God. And then they were like, "Oh, that's stupid. Don't." I was like, "Well, you're the one who you're the one who brought up the that analogy. You're just carrying it to its conclusion." Um, but yeah, the root is a part of the plant. It's the part that helps the plant take root.
Yeah. So I was honestly talking to Chat GPT about this a little bit because I was a little curious because if you look up root in the Old Testament, a common phrase, as you saw me mention in that video, is taking root. And what I was suggesting is when Jesus says that he is the root, when Israel takes root, they're held in the ground by that root, and that root is Jesus. The common theme of all the passages of taking root is continuation and perseverance, that they're being preserved. So Jesus would be what causes them to continue and be preserved. And that matches a lot of the messianic passages, about Messiah and the role of restored Israel. Heck, that's Isaiah 49. All right,
Mhm.
so I think that strongly relates to messianic role, but Jesus does say he is the root, not he is the means by which they take root. I I know about Isaiah 11:1 right here, but I had forgotten about Isaiah 11:10, where it says that there will be a root of Jesse, and obviously Jesse and David should have the same roots, which will stand for an ensign of the people. But in verse 1, it says, a branch will grow out of his roots. So here's some serious questions. Before I even talk about Trinitarian, I just want to talk to you. I won't even ask that question. But there comes for a rod out of the stem of Jesse. You know this word means a cutting down, right? Like a stump.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is Jesse cut down?
Well, it's speaking of the line of rulership cut or broken, basically, since um the splitting of the kingdom and through Jeroboam and Rehoboam, and basically the decline thereafter, leading to exile and um no son of David sitting on the throne.
That's actually interesting. I didn't even consider about Solomon being cut off. Like, he was saved one tribe allegedly for David's sake, which is actually more than that, but that's another story. I'm looking at
So basically, I mean, if you trace a chain from like a line through from Isaiah 11:1 and 11:10, even to Romans 15:12, and then to Revelation 5:5, um, it, you'll sort of get the connection that John is making.
yeah. Well, I'm in Matthew 3:10, and now also the axe is laid to the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which brings not good forth will be cut down and cast into the fire. Right before Isaiah chapter 11, at the end of the chapter, and there's no marker in the Hebrew. This continuation right into 11. It
Mhm.
says there's different things here about cutting down trees, but the very last verse, and he shall cut down the thickets of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. Um, there's context in here about the Assyrian. There's a lot going on here. I'm not even going to try to get into it, but I was considering that this cutting down of Assyria and Judah, and the tree of David being cut down would imply a common denominator, which would be Babylon. Babylon cut down both Assyria and Judah. and ended the throne. John saying something here is saying now also, and I gotta figure out why he's saying now also. The axe is the axe still there? Possibly because what does it say right before that? Okay. What about the end of this chapter? Because it kept saying his hand is stretched out still. All right, so the following chapter, he actually. Okay, so this right here is talking about restoration, of everything. But then there's the burden of Babylon, which leads on and on. Um,
Let me
I was.
just, I mean, while you're sort of chasing that out, I do want to say that this is actually very simple and straightforward with Revelation 5:5. The uh the the root imagery is tying back to Isaiah's root of Jesse, stump of Jesse, the righteous branch. That basically this lamb is the means by which the dynasty of David takes root again, springs forth to bear fruit. The root is the means by which a plant takes root. So it's no problem or confusion or anything to say that for the lamb to be the root, because the root is that which helps the plant to take root, to establish, and bear fruit, multiply basically. And this is again, the lamb imagery here is one who has slain. Isaiah 53:10. If you will make your soul an offering for sin or a guilt offering, he shall see his seed.
Mhm.
And he shall see long life.
Well, there's no his in the Hebrew, but go on. He shall
Yeah.
see seed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's different ways of rendering that. But yeah, the point is seed, fruit. The seed is the fruit. That's not a stretch, because the mandate at the very beginning in Genesis, after creating man and woman, is to multiply, bear fruit.
Yeah. The reason I was looking at this a little bit more detailed, if it's related to the previous chapter and the cutting down of Assyria, and Babylon was the means by which Assyria was cut down, and we got a stump of Jesse that isn't related to Solomon, it would indicate that Jesse was cut down when the Assyrian was cut down, not at the exact time, but by the same means. Jared, this would actually show that Isaiah 11 is not about, some would read it as Hezekiah, because Hezekiah was born before the Assyrian was cut off by Babylon. So the Messiah would come after Babylon cuts off the tree. And then that takes me to Jeremiah chapter 22. I think like 24 to 30, something like that, with Jeconiah being removed, no seed or will prosper on the throne of David. But in the very next chapter, what does it say? If I'm not mistaken, let me double check. This would be the same word used when God says he'll raise up a righteous. No, actually, this isn't the same word. This is a unique one. Yeah, he said that he would raise up a righteous branch for David in 23 verse 5. So, a righteous branch, yeah, that's not the same word. But I think that that's what it could relate. If I'm right, if I honestly put together, that might help show Jews that, it is about Messiah. But the problem is they don't see Messiah coming twice, only once.
Well, not necessarily.
The same Messiah.
Right, yeah, that they would describe two different epaulets to two different messiahs. I understand that, but
Yeah. What if I could prove to you that Messiah does have a second coming? I mean, like in Isaiah.
are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about the passages that I would use. But Isaiah definitely talks about it because if you just summarize the chapters and create a story, the suffering servant is unalived in the very next chapter. You have a married woman. But in Isaiah 50, she was divorced. So something happened there as a result of that servant being unalived. And I don't, do you hold that's Israel or Messiah?
I hold
Isaiah
both.
53.
Yeah, I hold both. There's I see Israel's identity bound up inseparably in her Messiah. So I mean, um yeah, I don't really separate the two ideas. I think they're very interconnected realities.
Yeah, I believe that it is Israel, but Messiah was the initiator of Israel, which is why, like, look at
Yeah.
with that. Think about some of the things Jesus said to the disciples, like, "Take up your cross and follow me."
Uh-huh.
They all became suffering servants
Yeah.
at the
Mhm.
hands of their brethren.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So if you go into Isaiah 53, you know, with the concept that Israel is the suffering servant and Israel is unalived because of Israel, but Israel was divorced in chapter 50 before he puts the words in the servant's mouth in chapter 51 and sent him in chapter 52 to be unalived in chapter 53. In chapter 54, too, there's a couple of things that happen. One,
Uh-huh.
the first verse talks about a married wife. Then a couple verses down, it tells you to enlarge your tent. And I believe this is because of the grafting in of the nations, which I think is also expressed in Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 27, sowing the house of Israel and Judah with the seed of men and beasts. And then it says, "You shall break forth," which is a future prophecy.
Uh-huh.
So instead of them getting the fulfillment now, they will get the fulfillment later. And then it goes on to talk about the covenant of David. Then I believe chapter 56 is talking about the covenant.
Uh-huh.
But it progresses. Isaiah 59, I don't remember the entire context, but the last verse is where the words that in that servant's mouth then becomes in his brother's mouth forever. So like I believe that Isaiah does show two comings of the Messiah, which is probably why Jesus read only the first half of Isaiah 61 verse 2. He didn't
Sure.
read about the day of vengeance,
Uh-huh.
that would come later.
Uh-huh.
I can also show you something in Jeremiah 31 that shows that the covenant starts before all Israel is gathered.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm tired now.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, it's just it's really crazy that somebody would take the phrase "root of David" and think, "Oh, the creator of David," or the
Oh,
originator of David. Which is so weird because a root doesn't originate or create a plant. The plant already exists. The root is the part of the plant that it sends down. The part of the plant that the plant sends down. It's just, and I sort of I have to laugh or just I don't know. I try not to to be affected so much when it's always apologists when they take uh these words that are just basic words and they're like, here, let me show you, that my position is true. The root of David, the root. And they like emphasize it as if like this makes my position true. It's like, holy begging the question, Batman.
Yeah.
It's like because I mean I could turn it around. It's like, yeah, the root, Maurice, the root of David. The root, and my position is just as correct because root means the part of the plant that the plant sends down to establish so that it can spring up and bear fruit. It's this isn't creation language. This isn't source language. The plant source is not the root. The plant source is the germination of the seed.
So Jesse is David's dad. That means David's root is Jesse's root, right?
What's that?
Jesse is David's dad. That means David's root's Jesse's root, right?
Sure.
And there's a rod that comes out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch will grow out of his root. His roots refers back to Jesse, right?
Yeah.
Who is the branch that comes out of the root of Jesse?
Well, if we're thinking theologically, it'd be
Like a Trinitarian.
yeah, that would
Because
be
Jesus is the root, so who's the branch that comes out of Jesus? Maybe I should ask first who that branch is to trap him. So Jesus comes out of Jesus?
well. I mean, the answer would be David, but again, we understand that David is the name of David's house, the name of his dynasty, the name of his rule. So like,
I don't
uh,
think you get what I'm doing.
well, I mean, sure, uh, I I I understand because I really don't care to even be 1 second in the mind of a Trinitarian. I try to avoid it as much as possible because it's just it's like
You're
I
cool.
think I lose brain cells when I try to do that. So I mean, I'll admit I'll do it when I have to, but it's not in my nature to do so. I had to really force myself to do it because otherwise I'm just like, no, this text is talking about something completely different, so I'm going to stick to that. And
Yeah, you're cool. So you think this is David that grows out of Jesus?
no, because this is talking about the stump of Jesse, and out of the stump a branch shall grow out of his. Um, I would say that this. So again, so there's a stump of Jesse. There's this idea of a line of rulership being sort of cut short, and now there's nothing there but a stump. There's nothing growing out of it. But then a root shall um, come forth, and this is just simply saying that something's going to take root in the stump of Jesse, and um, it's going to shoot out. Um, so uh, this is the root of Jesse. There's a root that's going to spring forth, and and prophetically speaking, that branch is David. Because David did come from Jesse, but then of course there was a break, and now we're looking at a stump, and we're associating that stump with Jesse. Well, a new David's
Yeah.
going to come out of that. It's going to be a
Well,
recapitulation of David. That's
yeah,
why.
I don't think we should put David in this picture because it's future tense. The branch would be someone in the future that
Well,
comes out of the roots.
what does God say the shepherd is going to be? I'm going to install my separate shepherd David over them, and he will be their shepherd. And that's
Yeah,
future
but
tense.
that's
So
no.
that's what I'm
I
drawing
understand.
upon is the fact that Messiah is a David, is a new David, as much
I
as he's
understand.
the offspring of David.
I understand. I know the references you're talking about, but right here, I don't think you should. There, you kind of forced to, talk like that because it's there, but it's not here. But here's a new thought. This word translated as branch means a shoot.
Yeah.
And is it possible a root can grow out of a root?
Yeah, there's a certain interchangeability of the words. Uh, but the stem. I mean, it's not the same word in the Greek in 11:1. It's I mean the I'll have to double check. I don't think it's the same root. Let me double check my notes here.
This is the word that comes from the root. We'll see what it looks like in the Greek, because that
Oh,
may
it
be a
actually
bigger.
okay. It is okay. So it is the
He's lost.
same. So it's saying it's so weird because in some English translation it says the stem or the stump of Jesse, and then out a branch will come out of the root.
Yeah. So
And it's in
yeah,
the LXX. It's both words are rhiza. It's root.
what I'm trying to drive toward though is this is a shoot, and it tells you where it comes from. It comes from the root. I don't know if you're like me, but typically when I think of a shoot, I always think about springing upward. I never think about staying underground. So if Jesus is the root of David and he springs from the root of Jesse, being a shoot from the root can produce another root. Roots do grow roots. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this would actually show that Jesse, because this shoot comes out of the root of Jesse,
Mhm.
even if it itself is Jesse's root because it's Jesse's stump, the entire tree belongs to Jesse.
Yeah.
This proves that Jesse is the progenitor of that root, not the root is progenitor of Jesse or David.
Mm-hmm.
Does,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Hey, judge your roots. This guy's silly, man. I wonder what he's like after some coffee. He's hyper. Oh boy. All this Bible study and the seriousness truly mellowed me out. And then maybe my previous job did as well. I worked around a bunch of grumpy people. They destroyed my youthful spirit. And then the woman that I used to be with a long time ago, I've been single for like over 5 years.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good guess. And she ruined my spirit for wanting to find a mate. I'd rather be alone. Too much trouble, man. Go through the. I'm not young no more. I ain't got time for all that. But he's still got that youthful ambition about him. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty much out of fresh thoughts, I think.
So really, I'll I'll implant fresh thoughts. That's cool. I need to get some food and go to bed because tomorrow I'm thinking about doing that. Reacting to my encounter with the scripture plug Albert.
Mm.
I haven't done that yet for like a Sabbath thing. And then who knows what I'll do Sunday. Yeah. All right, so I guess that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah,
Shalom.
so
Thanks for popping up here.
yeah,
Good
you
night,
want to thank
everyone.
for yeah. Good night.
Yeah. May God be with you all and lead you in all truth. Good night.